Hello again, and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And today, would you look at this? I've got a very special guest right in front of me. We're the two blondies here. We got a Texas and a Canadian here. Everybody knows him. This is Jason McMaster. We're going to talk about one of his many bands, one of their records today. It's going to be the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys. Somewhat, I think, of a polarizing album. Would you agree, Jason?
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, we'll get into it. We'll talk about it. I'll wait
We'll
for you
talk
to
about
ask questions.
Okay. Yeah, I got some questions to ask you
Yeah.
before we get into the track by track, and I'll talk as I always do in these episodes about my kind of history with this album. I've talked about Dangerous Toys. I've done Dangerous Toys episodes before, but not this album. So I got this album came out in 1995, and I'd been a big Dangerous Toys fan right from the beginning. The first album is still one of my really, really, really top favorite albums ever in any genre or of any era. I love that album. Loved Hellacious Acres, loved Pissed. And then this came out and it was no different. I loved it. And at the time, music, it was 1995, more than anybody, everything was different there for bands of, of your ilk. The music landscape was very, very different. And for me, it was just another Dangerous Toys album. And at that time in 1995, I was still listening to, I still loved, Rat and, the bands like that, although those bands were not producing too much new music, but I still liked it. But I did also still, I liked Soundgarden and loved Pearl Jam and Faith
Yeah.
No More and Jane's Addiction. I
Well,
liked them both.
Well,
Go ahead.
you wrote to us. We were pen pals, and that's
That's
how
right.
we even know each other.
That's
So
right.
you took a shot and wrote a band that you liked, and God
Mhm.
forbid the band wrote you back. And that's how we even know each other at all. Because you were
That's
in
right. That's why we're
Canada.
talking today.
You were in Canada at the time. You were there for years and years and years, and that's your whole upbringing. And then you moved to Mexico years later, and you're still there, and that's fantastico. So the point
Viva la
that I
vida.
was trying to make is, in this little trying to come up with a segue here, is you not only like all four of the studio records by the Toys, you like thrash metal. You like what pundits called grunge. You like some punk rock. You like, you're very omnivorous,
That's a
right?
big word, like
But
gymnasium, as Gene Simmons liked to point out.
you like it all. You have many you're a fan of many style. So when you say you keep saying it, you don't realize it probably, and that's fine. I'm not pointing it out as a sore. I'm just saying, and it was no different when the artist came out. I still like that record. Why would you have to feel like you say that? I guess is why we're here today, huh?
Yeah, to me it was just another Dangerous Toys album, and I think at the time I didn't realize it was. And to be honest, I'm kind of slow sometimes with, sometimes people pick up on things before I do, musically or just in life in general. I
Okay.
admit I'm slow sometimes, and which good or bad, that's the way it is. And so at the time this came out, I thought, oh yeah, new Dangerous Toys album, I love it. And it was only maybe definitely in the internet era, maybe even much more recently, maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, that I started to realize, yeah, this is more different than I thought. And it was
Oh
also
yeah.
in the internet era. I didn't realize how polarizing this album was, and there's a lot of hatred. Maybe
Y-
that's too strong
That's too
toward
strong,
this album.
maybe, but
Yeah,
yeah, you're not wrong by way of here's a good way to look at it. We might as well have made a country record because that's how polarizing it was to a lot of fans.
yeah.
Some called it probably a turd,
I'm
blemish,
sure people say that for everything. Yeah,
because it's not. I don't say baby, 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 shubina mamina one time.
I'll talk
I
about that.
do not grab my crotch.
Yes.
I was playing bass on the record and the tour.
Yeah, yeah. All those three things I'm going to talk about.
Right.
So
Okay.
it was only in the internet era once I got online in 1998, 99. or maybe I guess it was a little bit after that that I started to see comments online about, and then especially in the YouTube era and social media era, whenever this album comes up, people, everybody has an opinion about everything,
Yeah,
and
the
and
internet pretty much was the internet itself was fairly new by the when this record came out. So,
yeah,
yeah, it's only been in the last what, I don't know, 25 years, I guess, that
yeah,
people
and
have come in and said, "Oh yeah, you don't need to buy this record." Or some people go, "I love all the Toys records," and and then they list them, and artist is not even on there, like it
yeah,
didn't
it's
happen.
forgotten.
That's like an X file.
Yeah, there are, and
Yeah,
you know how
yeah,
much I love Saigon Kick, and they had this album called Bastards that all but nobody knows about that album.
yeah. It's an
Was
X
Pony
file.
Canyon.
It's an
Yeah,
X
and
file.
and
Yep.
even Rat, I think Collage, nobody really knew about that album.
X
But it
file.
was it was in the internet era that I realized that, oh, I thought, I knew there were not a lot of people who were buying this kind of music then, but I thought, everybody would love it like I did. But then I realized, wow, a lot of people don't like this album. I thought, why? And then it was many years later, maybe only in the last 5 or 10 years, that the more I listened to it, like I said, I'm slow, and even listening to it today to kind of, refresh myself, there were more things I remember that I go, yeah, now I see why people didn't like it. I don't agree with it, but I understand it much more now than I did 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Yeah, you're being very diplomatic about it, and I feel like that's a fair way to be about music. Again, you're omnivorous. You're an omnivore for music. I mean, I have been called an omnivore by many people because some people might know me from my band Watchtower, and then all of a sudden I'm in this butt rock band Dangerous Toys, and they go, wait a minute, you're a thrash metal dude.
Mm.
Why are you?" And they don't know that I love Kiss and AC/DC, so why wouldn't I be in a band and write songs with Dangerous Toys? It's
Yeah,
just
and going backwards a little bit, the thing that I really liked about Dangerous Toys in the beginning was I love Faster Pussycat, Bullet
sure.
Boys, Sea Hags and Badlands. I love that.
Sea Hags, man.
Ron Yoakum.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a Sea Hags album at some point. I've got one
Mhm.
here. I
You
guess they
should.
only have one.
Yeah.
Half the Way
Mhm.
Valley and
Yeah.
um,
Someday.
Doghouse.
I like Someday.
Someday is a great song. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, but I remember you were wearing a Motorhead shirt in the video for Tease and Please, and that was my first introduction to Dangerous Toys.
Mhm.
And I thought, yeah, this makes sense. Musically, they're kind of, well, that song is a little bit different. Tease and Please. It was a little bit more of the butt rock, cock rock, hair metal, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, you guys were more denim and leather, to borrow a
Yeah.
line from Biff Byford.
Yeah.
And but it was the hair metal fans that like Dangerous Toys. But then something like Outlaw or
Tin Boots?
Bones in the Gutter, especially that, like, there was a
Yeah.
heavy side to that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Bones in the Gutter might be the darkest moment on the first record. And to
for
me,
sure.
Outlaw and Tin Boots, those kind of remind me, I'm not patting myself on the back, but they remind me of like Motorhead. They remind me of, dirty bluesy rock, especially Tin Boots by way of it's kind of a fast boogie. I
Yeehaw!
mean, Motorhead kind of Lemmy loves to shimmy shimmy, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, yeah, this was, and there's some heavy stuff on this record, and lyrically, you mentioned that Bones in the Gutter was the darkest on the first record. You
Mm.
go much darker on at least a couple of songs, two or three on this one.
Y-
But I like it. So what was it like at that time in 1995, being in a band like Dangerous Toys when you were pretty much gone by the wayside, everything was changing. What was the mentality making this record? How is it different than the previous records?
Things on the surface to outside people until 1995 when they may or may not have been excited about the release of that fourth studio record prior to them pressing play or just hearing a song somewhere. They may or may not have recognized the band at all. hence the name of the record. The artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys by Dangerous Toys. There's a bit of a kerfuffle there. Well, that's the reason we named the record that, is with that confusing title. Because Prince at that time was going by the symbol.
Of course, yeah,
He didn't go under the name Prince because it was a record label deal where they were giving him shit because his contract said Prince. Yep, there's the album cover.
Love Sexy. Love Sexy.
Yeah,
album cover and the title is, well, both the album cover and the album title are.
Yeah, it's a parody. It's a skit done by way of the name of the record as well as the art, being that it's a cartoon of the Prince Love Sexy record where Prince is naked. We have our clown, our mascot, sitting naked in the same pose. Now, it was different because band member changes. It was different because it was fucking 1995 is the main reason it was different. It's like music was so different. I mean, I used to say, I don't know how much I buy into it now, but I used to say in interviews and such that if you had a career before 1995, you didn't have to change by any trend. You didn't follow any trend. You just kept going with what you had going on. By 92 or 93, you had a career. You were not paying attention to like the bumps and warts and the landscape of what was happening in popular music or in heavy metal. You could just narrow it down to that if you want.
Yeah.
But I mean, even I feel like at that time, for lack of a better term, the grunge bands were tired of being grunge. By 95, I feel like they were tired of being grunge. Do you see? So that's what was happening in my head as a songwriter and a player and a performer and someone who's trying to tour, and the numbers are not the same. The numbers are different, and just as far as you get in, and I'm talking numbers by bean counting and going, wow, our fee has gone down. Wow, we can't hit as many stops as we used to just even a year ago, things like that. But there were a lot of things different, to answer your question. And just to go back a little bit to the Pist record from 94, that's a quick turnaround. We got off the road from the Pist thing.
Mm-hmm.
By April of 95, we were in the studio writing, but we didn't have a bass player. And people might be like, what do you mean? So we went out to Los Angeles to record the Pist record. It was Paul Idell's first record with us. We had already written all the songs, so Paul's songwriting is not included on Pist. The huge contributor to the sound of the band. And at the same time, not so different as for people to not even realize that we had a different guitar player. If that makes any sense. To me, it does. So because Paul was in Dirty Looks and we were all big Dirty Looks fans. And so he just fit right in. Max Norman produced Cool from the Wire, and he was a fan already, and he was a friend of ours. It was a perfect sort of like, he melted right into the shoes, So we go make that record, and then we get home from making the Pist record, and Mike Watson, bass player, takes a leave of absence, i.e. doesn't do the tour, because we had like a 200-date tour we were about to do. And 2 weeks before the tour, he throws in the towel and says, I'm going to go to trade school. And that's fine. It threw a monkey wrench in our calendar, so we had to scramble. We came up with our buddy Michael Hannon from Salty Dog.
Totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Man,
and
Salty
so
Dog.
I called Michael out. There wasn't any audition. Literally 2 weeks. There's no time to audition, right? I call Michael up. I say, what are you doing? He goes, I'm painting a house. I'm on a ladder. and he was in Los Angeles somewhere. I'm on a ladder painting a house. I go, okay, well, can you do a 200-date tour with Dangerous Toys? He goes, yeah, I'm climbing down the ladder now. I'll put my SVT, my bass is in the van, and I'm on my way to Texas. I said, thank you, buddy.
Just like
And
that.
so we started rehearsals with him a week before, 10 days maybe before we left. And he just learned the set. There wasn't a whole lot of anything else. He just learned the songs we had picked out for the set. And, a bunch of old ones, a few new ones from Pist, and boom, we're done. And he's professional. So, the differences there were, so people know, is that Mike's an okay singer. And when he sings songs that he wrote, he can do like a Lemmy meets an Alice Cooper kind of a vibe. His voice is gritty and, uh, it's nothing like Mike Watson's, the bass player, Dangerous Toys. It's nothing like his voice. So we had to move some things around as far as backup vocals as to what parts to assign where. So I think that there were parts that Michael could sing fairly well, and there were parts that he was just going to have to sing like a lower version of it. And then Paul Lydell, who is a consummate singer, sang all the higher harmonies that Mike Watson may have been doing. So there was a lot of, we pushed some of those harmonies, those we divvied up the parts correctly to make the vocal harmonies on those songs. Because people forget the Toys, there's a lot of vocal harmonies. I've been extremely lucky this whole time
Especially
to have
Take Me Drunk.
to have Mike and even the old guy, Danny Aaron, awesome singer, awesome singer. So it was no problem for those guys, for Mike and Danny, and now Mike and Paul, to sing anything the song needs, any vocal tracks that I cut that were harmonies in the studio or that they cut in the studio sounded exactly like they did live as they did on the record, because those guys are fucking awesome. So the point that I'm making is when Mike came in to do, Michael Hannon replaced Michael Watson on bass, we had to move some of the vocal parts over to Paul. And then, believe it or not, Scott Dalhoover, lead guitar, he sang a little bit on that tour as well, on the Pist tour. A little bit of backup vocals. And then he sang quite a bit on the Artist Formerly Known As tour, which was very short-lived. And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So these are all things that were different, to answer your question. These are all contributing factors to how different even the writing felt, all the way to when we played those songs live with me on bass. And the reason I played bass, so we end the tour with Michael Hannon on bass, the Pist tour, and we come home and it's like April of 95. So we immediately start writing, because there's the independent label that put out the Pist record, Antone's / Dose Records. It was like the rock and roll side of a blues label that was here in Austin, Texas back then. They were ready to fund another record immediate, and we were like, awesome, let's go. And so we started writing, and it was me and Paul and Mark and Scott. We're meeting once in a while to write, because it was different for everyone in their headspace without Mike Watson there.
Mm-hmm. And going into that a little bit deeper, Dangerous Toys was, directly or indirectly influenced by Kiss, Motorhead, Van Halen, ZZ Top, Aerosmith, right?
You're spot on. There's even
okay.
some Black Sabbath in there. There's some Sex Pistols and Clash. There's
I've never picked up on that.
Well, you may or may not. The reason that I have to throw those in there is because Mike Watson, he's a giant Devo fan.
Oh.
There's a lot of this quirkiness from Mike Watson that you may or may not know of, that was a contributing attitude to the sound of the band. So without that, it felt like I keep saying, it just felt different without Mike. And we, you know, hey, you're a grown ass man. You go do whatever you need to do. We're going to try to continue. And we did. And the decisions that were being made were not necessarily about, you know, we didn't set out to make a record like the artist formerly known as. It kind of just happened.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Were you either consciously or subconsciously influenced by current music at that time, the music of
I
the early to mid 90s?
I would have to say some of us, I'll speak for myself by saying somehow, some way, the answer is yes. I mean, I don't, when I think about it, I mean, I didn't go out and buy a Smashing Pumpkins record, but that shit was everywhere.
Yeah, it
You
was
know what I
hard to
mean?
avoid.
That yeah. And I would listen to it when it came on, and I found myself, because there's some things that are heavy about Smashing Pumpkins that I liked. And there was some things on the radio, and I really am not a I don't listen really to the radio, but if I'm out somewhere and they're playing it over the PA, you're subject.
Right.
And I love rock and roll, so, and it's rock and roll. I mean, I'm not going to go fuck this, you know, I'm not going to have a I'm omnivorous. I'm listening. You know, when Kings of Leon came out, I fell in love with their first record. I was just talking about that the other day. So the point is during that, and that was later, of course, but Kings of Leon, you know, that was later. But
Yeah.
anyway, the point is yes, there were things happening in popular music that crept into my psyche somehow, even though I didn't buy a record or a song or, you know, a shirt or a poster or, you know, I didn't, on the outside, I didn't give a fuck. But obviously there was something going on, and the things that were happening to, I think, the way Scott was even writing, because there was, here's another way that it was different, and it almost feels like I'm changing gears, but I'm not. um I think Scott was busy working and couldn't be at the writing sessions as often as me and Paul were. And it was also to throw in the group as well of what I'm talking about. Mark, the same kind of thing was happening with Mark. It felt like, well, if you and Paul are like demoing, you know, sketch ideas of songs, and I'm just sitting there waiting for you guys to put something together for me to play a drum groove on, can you use a drum machine to just go tick tock while I got better things to do than spend hours waiting for you guys to find the arrangement or find the melody or the lyric, or, you know. So there's these different sort of layers of hurry up and wait. You know, here's another way to look at it. When the drummer's done with their drum tracks in the studio, could be any band, right? When they're done with their drum tracks, they're on vacation.
Yeah, they're the first to go.
They're gone unless they're on the production team. You know what I mean? Unless it's Lars Ulrich or Charlie Benanti, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're songwriters too.
Someone who helps arrange the songs and find the tones and or wrote the riff, because Charlie writes
Charlie writes all in,
everything
right?
on guitar, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like when Neil Peart was done with his drum tracks and he's already turned in all of his lyrics to all the material to Getty, he's on his motorcycle. he's he's
Yeah.
out. He's not going to sit there and tell Getty how to sing something, right? So even on someone like Neil, who was a master arranger, songwriter, lyricist, he's not hanging around the studio when his drum tracks and his lyrics are done, just to give an idea. So Mark wasn't around as often as previous times of writing and demoing and things like that. Normally, in the before times, I like to say, before pre-internet, how did Led Zeppelin write a song? How did Bad Company write a song? See, they're in a sweaty basement room all together jamming, and the singer is just going, making cartoon sounds, and then I'll make those into lyrics later. And that's how Metallica wrote. That's how everybody writes for a time,
Yeah,
right?
scratch vocal or guide vocal, you call it?
Scat vocal. Yeah, I
Yeah.
call them dummy lyrics
Mm.
because they're not lyrics. They're just, sounds, cartoon sounds. And then you make it make sense later, right? So this was some of that, but it's not everybody in a room together. And bring in Scott's um, interactions, it would be Scott's doing the same kind of thing. He's got a drum machine. He's got, 10 different tempos he likes. He'll dial one up and have his guitar in there, and he'll write riffs and put together a sketch of a tune, right? And maybe he'll have 8 or 9 sketches on a cassette tape, because in the 90s it was still cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And he would basically drop it off at my house. I'd come home and there'd be a tape on my front porch, or he would come by the studio where me and Paul were, which is just a room in South Austin that we rented, and me and Paul would be in there late, sometimes, after midnight, we gonna let it all hang out. We would be in there kind of late, not till 5 a.m. because that's just that you're not getting any magic at that point. We weren't making the record. We were putting ideas down, right? So once we would have arrangement, and Paul Idell, bless his soul and his heart, he was left to, because I don't know shit about a drum machine. I can't program a drum machine. I still can't. Don't know how to program a drum machine.
Mm.
And the digital age was here. It had arrived. And Paul is a songwriter, and he is pretty good at teaching himself how to, he's a multi-instrumentalist. He knows how to, do things on his phone that I don't know how to do on a cell phone. He's one of those guys, and I'm not. My phone is a phone. It's not really a camera. Anyway, keep going.
So hold on, just to interrupt quickly. So was there, because I've always kind of wondered this about one song in particular, and if I'm
Okay.
right, I'm sure you know what song I'm thinking of. There was one song, and I don't want to get too far ahead with the track by track because we'll get
It's
to that.
okay.
But what was there a drum machine on the album, or did you just use them like for demos or as a guide?
Demos.
Okay, so on the album it is live drums.
It depends on what song you're talking about. There might be one song and it's barely a song and it's the last song on the
Mom and
record.
Dad.
Mom and Dad.
I was wondering about "Take Me Swiftly" because I always thought
No,
that
that's
sounded.
that's real drums.
Oh, but it did. Am I wrong that it did have kind of a funky sound?
No,
Like the hi hat was
you're not wrong. Here's where I'm going. I'm sure that we'll get into it a little bit here in a little bit, but that song "Take Me Swiftly" feels like it's kind of like we're ripping off Ministry,
it's got a
which
little bit of
may
a industrial tinge to it. Yeah.
yeah, and that you have to think about White Zombie was hot at
Mhm.
that time.
Yeah.
And those everybody's stealing from everybody at that point. It's like they are using drum machines on top of samples, and they have a real drummer mic'd up playing along with all this shit.
Yeah.
So we had the idea in the studio, and this is here we are too far out too far ahead, but we had the idea of just merely EQing and maybe putting a little bit of effects on the actual real acoustic drums and the hi-hat, the swishiness of the,
Yeah. Yeah.
to create this grinding sort of buzz, circular saw, that industrial shit kind of has in the production without sampling anything.
Oh,
It
okay.
was sort of mixed and EQ'd a certain way to sound that way. As well as my bass guitar on that song, again, I think I had about 8 guitar pedals all plugged into each other, and I've got them all turned on. So in certain parts of that song, my bass just sounds like it's underwater, and it sounds like a skill saw, like, in certain places. And you wouldn't be able to probably point it out in a place in the track, but I just recall that there were no rules. There were no rules in the making of some of those tunes.
Okay.
In the recording. We went for broke. We were loaded for bear. We went every which way but correct on purpose. Now that
Okay.
was the only, we took liberties in the studio to think that way because we absolutely had nothing to lose. And that's the mindset by way of how the songs were coming out. Back to the demoing with Paul programming a drum machine to fit the riffs and ideas, whether it was a Scott riff or a Paul riff or a Jason riff, because I was writing riffs on guitar. And then when it was time to cut a bass, I would,
Had you written music on the 3 previous albums, or was it like obviously you write the lyrics, and maybe I guess you're writing the
yeah,
vocal melody. Had you written
yeah,
riffs before?
yeah. Sugar, Leather, and the Nail. That's
Mhm.
my riff.
No.
Line 'em Up is my riff. Ba-na-na-tica-ba-na-na-ta. I wrote that.
Take a look.
Uh,
Take a look at what you do. Oh,
yep.
what you don't do.
Strange is a combo. One riff is Scott's. That's on Pissed. One riff
Yep.
is Scott's, and one riff is mine.
Okay.
I think the da 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 ba ba ba. I think that one's mine. The chorus is mine. I think the everything else on Strange is Scott's. I could have it flip flopped. I mean, that was
Okay.
fucking 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So yeah, so me and Paul mainly referring to Scott's riff tapes as well as Paul's riff tapes and my riff tapes and putting them in a blender in a room in South Austin. And I've got some of the tapes like at arm's reach almost. And I think that these were sessions. This could have been, I may have my timeline off slightly, but I remember so when we wrote stuff during some of those times, we would write RFL on the spine of the cassette tape. Reason for living.
Mm.
Because it's what we did every day. We would go
Yeah.
to that studio and write, whether it was the whole band or just shit, me and Paul. So we just, it was RFL 1, RFL 2, and each tape had, 5 to 8 songs on it. So that's kind of a mirror, or I'm sorry, a window as to how the artist, as well as some of the other stuff, was put together. Specifically, the artist, I don't have the track listing in front of me. If you want to go down that, we can do that. But
I
if you
got it.
have any
Yeah.
more questions about,
Just a couple more. So
Mhm.
so when you finished, either you personally or the band, more generally, did you feel like, yeah, this is a great album. I'm very proud of this, very happy, or is it like, that's what we got at the time? What was the
I,
feeling?
I think it's different if you go to all 4 of us. The funny thing is Mike Watson loves it.
Mhm.
He wasn't even involved. He didn't write a
Yeah, he
fucking
heard it as a
word.
fan.
He didn't play a fucking note. He didn't sing a
Yeah.
note. He didn't write a note. And he loves the record. And I feel like we had accomplished something really cool to hear Mike Watson, who at the time wasn't even involved, go, God damn, that's awesome. Because it made, remember what I was saying, he's the new wave guy in the band. He likes
Yeah, like
Devo
Devo.
and old punk rock and stuff like that. And so do I. And me and Mike get along musically perfectly. But he also loves Motorhead and Rush. He's a normal rock and roll dude, and he plays in punk bands and shit. So, and has for years. But the point is when he came back and after he heard that the artist and he was like, dude, it's great. And he had favorite songs and everything. So, we knew that when the record was done that we had done something that was going to be kind of like, people were going to have to give it a second, one of these looks like, what the hell is, what, kind of a thing. I recall our manager at the time, our longtime manager, Tim Heine, was in the studio with us when we were making that record. And his reaction was odd by way he said, like, we're talking about just, metaphorically and rhetorically, the whole, we're looking at this ball of wax that we created, and he's like, man, I'm just not used to hearing you guys sound like this.
Mm.
And that was the quote that I kept hearing, whether they were saying it verbatim, those words or not. Oh, this record is shit. Well, that to me means you're not used to hearing us sound like this.
Yeah.
You were expecting Shubin and Mom and a baby, baby, baby butt rock. And this record has zero of that on there. But when I think of the song Pissed, that could have been on the artist. When I think of some of the songs on the artist, I feel like some of that could have been on Pissed. And you may have to squint and shrug a little bit to hear what I hear on that. Maybe I'm too close to it, but I don't have to squint and shrug to know what songs from the artist could have actually been. I think Transmission could have been on Pissed.
I don't know about that. I think for me,
the way that it's produced, I'm sorry to interrupt. The way that it's produced is, there's a bunch of effects and like Pink Floyd shit going on in the record, in the recording of the sound of certain songs.
What did I write here for Transmission? Pink Floyd vibe.
Yeah. Well, whether we were going for a Pink Floyd vibe or even I hear, like, I'm not calling myself a John Lennon, but I hear imagine there's no heaven, and when you think about Transmission, the vibe of my song is that tone.
Okay.
When you think about Pink Floyd, there's what's that song, Breathe, Dark Side of the Moon shit.
I'm not a Pink Floyd guy. You're asking.
That's all right. Those lines. There is no.
Oh, of course.
And you think about Transmission, and all of that stuff is falling down into that song. I was unaware the entire time. So that's what I mean by outside influences coming in. I do not own the record Imagine. I do not own Dark Side of the Moon. But how can those songs, as great as they are, not influence me as a writer when you hear them all your whole life, right? So
they're around you all the time.
There were these things kind of creeping in. Once I sort of, this is good. I just stumbled onto this sort of metaphor here. Once I let the sort of ornaments that I had on fall away, that told you that I was making a Dangerous Toys. This is how Dangerous Toys sounds. I'm holding up my hands like this. Once I let all that go to where I just tore up the rule book. There's no rules anymore. I can write any kind of song I want because I have nothing to live for anymore, nothing to lose. I don't give a fuck about what you think what kind of song should I write? No, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not listening to you tell me what kind of fucking song I'm going to write.
Yeah, no expectations from the
Once
record
I let
label.
once I don't wanna say we, I wanna speak for myself because everybody feels different. In the group, fans, hardcore fans, family, friends about the record, whatever. It all fell once I let it all go away for a second, I just let songs come out. Even if I felt like in the end, I sort of, wow, I'm sounding, we're sounding a little bit like so right here. Oh man, that really kind of reminds me of blah, 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 blah. I'm being honest by saying it's all psyche. It's all, once I just kind of stood naked, it was easier for me to let other influences creep out and become part of the sound of the record.
All right. A couple of three more well, two of them are quick. One of them would
Yeah.
maybe require a little bit of a longer explanation. They're all
Mhm.
kind of in the same bundle. How many dates did you do on this tour? You said 200 on Pissed. I'm surprised it was not that long. How many shows on this tour?
Yeah, I might be exaggerating that Piss tour, but it was long.
Okay, yeah, that's even if it was half that, I wouldn't expect 100 at
Yeah,
that
I
point.
think it was months of
Mm,
of on the road.
okay.
We'd
So
go
on
out and then we'd come home for 2 weeks, we'd go out again, and when we went out, it was like 3 weeks, 5 weeks, stuff like that.
yeah, and legs.
And there wasn't a whole lot of day off. There may have been a few shows canceled, so we were stuck with a day off, but you know what I mean? Like you have 7 in a row that only turns into 5 in a row or
Yeah.
whatever, it depends. But we were very busy in 1994. We were
Okay.
very busy all, like I said, April of 95.
Yeah, you came off the road. You said in April '95. So how many
Yeah,
how many shows on the artist tour?
maybe 15.
Really, that few?
Yeah,
All right.
that's
Um,
that's not even counting local shows. So
okay.
maybe in all where we played those songs live at all, like a few of the songs we played live.
That
Monster Man,
that was going to be my next question. What songs were played live from this
The
record?
Numb,
Mm,
Monster Man, The Numb, Transmission. Well, you know what? There's decent sounding board tapes and such on that Cleopatra Greatest Hits out.
Oh, Crash
Uh,
Helmets and Vitamins.
yeah, that live
Yeah.
record has a bunch of those. Whatever's on there that's off of the artist, those are the artist songs we played
Okay. Okay.
for
Yeah,
the
I can't
most part.
remember. Yeah.
Share the Kill for sure.
Mm.
Made a video for Share the Kill.
Oh, I don't know if I ever saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I could have missed it in all these years, but I don't remember it.
Well, it was 95. So no
Yeah.
one was really looking for
Uh,
videos in 95. So,
yeah. And then my other question is, and then we'll get to the track by track, and this maybe requires a little bit more of an explanation
no, it's okay.
on your part. So you've got a few shows coming up, and we'll talk about those before we wrap up.
Yeah.
After we finish the track by track,
Yeah.
why not throw a song in from the artist? Because I mean, there are some people that like it. Is it just like, is it more that the band doesn't really want to, or you think the fans don't care, or is it just not the right conditions? Well, why not one song?
I
Throw it
I
in.
think it's a little bit well, it would be a guilty pleasure at that point.
Yeah,
For the short answer, it'd be a guilty pleasure
self-indulgent.
and it would probably be Share the Kill.
Mm,
And we still play stuff from Pissed all the time. We
yeah.
do Pissed and Pain Train. Um almost every gig, Pissed and Pain Train. And those are great moments from the Pissed record. Um let's see. What was the question again?
If you could, what's stopping you from throwing in a song
Oh,
on
right.
in current
It
shows?
it would just be a guilty pleasure. I don't think
Okay.
that the record moved and had enough footprint to, and this is completely arguable. I'm speaking for myself. Everybody else in the band may have another argument. Um, part of my psyche thinks that no one wants to hear that.
Yeah,
And
I
I
get that.
also think the same about, sure, there's going to be that hardcore fan that's wants you to know that they have the Shocker soundtrack So they're mad because you're not playing
Forest
Demon
Pinker.
Bell, because you're not playing Demon Bell. They're mad at you, or not
Yeah.
mad at us,
I
but
understand. Yeah.
you know what I mean? I think that they're that guy. They're being that guy, right? That's, well, how come you guys aren't playing Demon Bell? You know what I mean? Just so
I
they're
know.
letting us know that we now know that they're cool enough to know that we have a song on. That's a deep cut. So anything off the artist would be considered a deep cut. And I mean, like, that dog on the first record is actually a really popular download out there in the digital streaming world, etc. That dog from the first Toys record we found
Last
out
one.
recently from our BMI checks that people actually like that song a lot. And I'm like, get out of town. And the other guys are like, no, dude, look at because it's itemized like an old phone bill.
Mm.
And I'm like, wow, surely some commercial somewhere is using that song. And when they play the commercial,
People Shazam it.
we get like a nickel or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? And maybe that's what it probably is. And there hadn't been any sleuth done on that yet. We haven't really looked into why that dog, but to me,
Go figure.
it's a deep cut in my psyche. That dog, it's so deep in the record. Bones in the Gutter, Queen of the Nile, Sportin' Woody, even Outlaw, Tin Boots, in my eyes, those are not deep cuts. Those are out front. People love that shit. Those are always going to be in the show. So these arguments about what I just sort of vomited on you pertain to reasons why there's just not enough footprint from the artist formerly known as Tunes as to maybe a reason why, well, okay, let's play Share the Kill. That's how I would be, like, just letting down my bad attitude. Okay, we'll let the redheaded stepchild come up on stage with us for a second. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean any harm by keeping people from that record. Trust me that I'm not, because this is the first time in this interview that I've said this, I fucking love the record.
The artist. Yeah.
Yeah,
Me
I
too.
love the record. Yeah, because it's this angry sounding, ugly duckling thing that we got to, like, unzip the cocoon and become a butterfly for one time.
Oh, it's a good way
No
to say it.
expectations. I mean, that's a bit dramatic, but you know what I mean. There was little to no expectations once we realized how different the band was sounding, and not to have to feel like I remind you, but Danny Aaron's gone. Mike Watson is not there. What? Jason's going to play bass?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A lot
What?
of
We're
changes.
using a drum machine? Mark Gary's not over there in the corner ready to fucking play the drums? It was a different time. The world of everyone's world was kind of different.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the track by track. And
Okay.
last thing that I'll add about the deep cuts, like deep cuts is really just songs that the band never really played live or were never singles. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, using
Yeah.
Kiss, we're both huge Kiss fans. Mr. Speed, Anything for My Baby, Two Timer. They were songs fans love those songs, and they're called deep cuts because they never played them live, so you never had a chance to get sick of them like you did with Calling Dr. Love and Detroit Rock City and Love Gun.
Well, Gene Simmons said a long time ago, he may not even remember, not that he's going to listen to this interview, but he may not even remember saying this, but I swear Mr. Simmons said, and I'm going to try to quote him, people of the world, they can eat anything they want. For dinner, they can have anything they want.
It sounds like a Gene thing already.
Anything. I mean, if you have the money, you can fly to New York and go to an all-night sushi buffet. If you want sushi in Manhattan, you can, if you have the money, you can have anything, and whoever you can. Go into a grocery store, turn left, right, upside down. You can go anywhere you want and pick out any fucking thing in the grocery store and have it for dinner. Can't you? You can. You know what people want? They want McDonald's. So take that widget that's terrible. Sorry. But take that widget, that idea, that frame, and people want Dr. Love. They don't want Two Timer.
They've talked about that. Yeah, Paul Stanley's
They don't
talked.
want Strange Ways. I want Strange Ways. They want Calling Dr. Love.
It's a small, and we're getting off topic here, but that's okay sometimes. It's a small minority that wants
the artist formerly known as
All
Dangerous
the Way. Yeah,
it's the small majority that wants Demon Bell or Share the
New
Kill.
Anger, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that people want to go and they want to hear. In your case, they want to hear Teasing, Pleasing, and Scared, and I don't know, maybe a couple of things from Hellacious Acres. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
I run into people sometimes that really love the artist formerly known as. There was a band in the irony is thick here because the singer and guitar player is now my bass player in Broken Teeth, but he had a band in Houston that when the artist record came out, him and his guys were huge fans of that record. And it was years after, a few years after the fact. And I don't even think it was the Toys. It might have been Broken Teeth that had a gig with his band in Houston. And I'm talking about Rob Lampman.
Lampman, yeah. I was trying to think of his name when you said
Teeth.
Lampman.
Yeah, and he's been in Broken Teeth for years now. So, but he would, back in, I don't know, 2006 or whatever, it was quite a while, 2003 maybe, quite a while after the artist came out. Shit, it may have been earlier than that. He hit me up and said, hey, if we learned New Anger, could you get up and sing the song with us? And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I did. I think it was a Broken Teeth gig and they were the opening band and I got up with them. I think they were called Slim was the name of the band. Or they had a name previous to Slim, but they ended up being called Slim. And I can't remember what they were called. I have a sticker somewhere. Anyway, and they covered New Anger and I got up and sang New Anger with the opening band.
And you had probably never did Toys play that on those 15 dates, or was this the first time you had ever sang it live?
No, we did.
Oh, you did play that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's on the
Vitamins and Crash
Helmets record.
Remember. Okay, I'll have to listen to that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's go through the track by track.
Yep.
And just before I get to the contents of it, we'll talk about just quickly the album. Some kind of couple of stupid things about this record, the actual physical record. So there it is, and it's on Deadline or Cleopatra.
It's a reissue because it never came out on vinyl back in the day in '95. So this is a fairly recent reissue, which I have to say they killed it on the artwork, the remastered artwork. I don't know how they rescanned that, but they found a way to rescan that artwork because I know they didn't have the original. If they had the original, it'd be worth some dough. But I think that the cover art, they really did a good job on, making sure the colors were right. On this particular, there's other things that we want. Yeah, the pink vinyl, the sort of bubble gum. It's kind of mauve, isn't it?
The camera isn't picking up how vibrant the pink is, but it's really, really very Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart pink.
Yeah, it's sort of a mauve, if you know that color.
Mauve, isn't it?
Yeah, mauve. I say mauve.
Oh, maybe it's an American Canadian thing. Okay.
Yeah, it could be, but it's kind of like it's a peachy pink. It's kind of it's not a pastel, huh?
Almost like a Barbie pink.
Maybe the Barbie. Okay, that's good. That gives people an idea. It's not Barbie pink. It's not as hot pink as Barbie pink. It's more of like strawberry shake pink. It's
Okay.
it's slightly a darker, maybe pink than Strawberry Shake, but it's got some berry in it for sure.
I never thought I'd come to the day where I'm discussing deeply the shade of
Pink.
pink.
Yeah.
Not just pink, but shades of pink.
Well, pink can be cool. It definitely has its place.
I have some pink items
Yeah.
in my house, clothing and other things. I
Yeah.
have no problem
I
with pink.
don't own anything pink as far as clothing, but and I would have to look hard around my house for pink, but there are pink things that I think need to exist.
I'm not an alpha. I'm not against pink.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, a couple.
I'm not against it, but there is there is containment issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now a couple of really bad things about this record. Well, I mean, I guess they're minor,
No,
but
let it
for
rip.
some of me,
Let's talk about
they bug me.
the things that bug you. Let's talk
Well,
about it. This
two
is
things, and
Yep,
I'm sure you know what they are. And one of them, I guess, is kind of understandable. They cut off the last two songs. Now, I guess that's a time constraint thing.
exactly.
Okay, so that's
So
understandable. And
which
I'm not
songs did they cut off?
the last two. So, Mom and Dad, and is it To Live the Lie? I think.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, To Live the Lie and Mom and Dad.
Well, that
And
was
now
easy. That was easy for them since those were, even as you say, the last two songs on
well,
on the CD as well.
that's what I was going to add. I don't
How
know if they.
convenient for them to just
Yeah,
clip the tail, right?
that's what I was going to say. I don't know if they just lopped them off. It could have been. It could have been. Cure the Sane and New Anger that were last two. Or I don't know if there's any thought. But you personally or you guys had no input into what songs were going to be cut, right?
Just like the old days, Aerosmith had very little or zero contact with the art department as
Yeah.
far as what was going to be on the printed on their jacket.
Hmm.
That's a normal thing. It's not normal if you and your manager are, making sure that we can look at a proof of what's happening with a printout before they hit go on the big machine to start pressing and printing. But in the real world, for the most part, 90%, I would say, of the popular world, the big chain, the machine, the artist has shit to do with what it is.
Yeah, I wonder about that. Like with and I'll use Love Gun, the album, as an example. And there are many, many, many. I always wondered as a fan, some albums like this one, it has the track listing in order. All right, and
Right.
then sorry, there it is. And then some records like Love Gun, it's in a completely random order. And I don't know if that's just aesthetically, like it looks better the way I guess it's like an art. I talked about about this with Chris McClaren. He said it could
Mhm.
be the art department, they like the way it's aesthetically pleasing, to put the songs a certain way, or it could be that the way the songs that were submitted to the printing department or whatever. But yeah, I always wondered why some records had them in order and some didn't.
There could be 100 different reasons why,
Yeah,
but just for the record, Kiss probably had a lot to do with in the old days, they had a lot to do with the layout. I'm certain between there and their manager Bill, they
Bill
probably
Coin.
sat around at Casablanca and they looked at proof sheets,
Hmm.
and especially Gene and Paul probably
They're
had.
very artistic, not just
Yeah,
musically, but
that's
they're
right.
great artists too.
That's right. Well, they're
Yeah,
also it's important to them as to what the merchandise is going to look like too.
yeah,
Up to a point, a lot of it probably got out of hand and they weren't
yeah.
able to see
But back
samples
then,
at
yeah,
some
they had
point.
their hand in
But back
everything.
then, for sure, oh yeah, they were working straight on with the artist
Hmm.
as well as the art department for their label, which was a small label.
Yeah, Casablanca didn't have
Yeah,
much going on.
right.
Donna Summer and whatever.
Village
And then the
People,
other. Oh,
Angel.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Hmm.
And then the other thing, and it's a minor thing, but it's the kind of thing that bugs me, is Down Inside, the song Down Inside, for some reason is listed as Down the Inside. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how that would happen.
they fucked that up.
Yeah, how? How does that happen? Down the
Well, that
inside. It
means
makes no sense.
I have a theory, and to throw gas on the fire. Originally, when Deadline Cleopatra what's the right word? Accumulated the rights to Pissed and the artist for future reissues. Uh, the font that we used originally on the original cover is this kind of cursive thing. Now, everybody take note. We were trying to stick with the Prince Love Sexy theme. Yeah, see, that's kind of a weird, it's not cursive, but you see what I'm saying? It's fancy
Cursive
writing,
adjacent.
almost like a calligraphy kind of a thing.
Mm.
Now, the song titles on the original CD release of that, which I don't have one handy, I've got 2,000 copies of it in my garage. But the point is the font that was used on the back on the track listing may or may not have been, I'm leaving loopholes here, everyone's innocent till proven guilty. They just couldn't fucking read it because when they originally released it digitally, or the reissue of the CD when they first did it, first off, I mentioned how awesome the scan of the art on these this vinyl looks really good. I'm comparing it to how shitty it looked on the original reissue they first did of the same record for CD. It was very thin, and it was almost like they took one of the colors, the screens they omitted to save money. It just looked really thin and weak, like a Xerox copy of it, or so. It was terrible. And and you turn it over, and Cure the Sane, as well as the digital, like the streaming at the time when it finally came out digital, Cure the Lane.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Lane. Now, Cure the Lane. I have never written a song called Cure the Lane.
Yeah.
Because first off, it doesn't, and my brain's going, okay, what could I just stretch my brain around like chewing gum to try to understand what that song could be about? Is it about street repair?
How about Clear the Lane? There's a great song title.
Terrible. That's terrible. Hey, you guys move out of the way. So it's a song, like
It's
makes
better
me
than,
think,
at least it makes sense. It's not Cure the Lane.
well, it makes me think of clear, it makes me think of Ludacris, Get Out the Way. That Ludacris tune. Anyway,
I don't know any Ludacris.
Doesn't matter. People who do will laugh. Because it says, move, bitch. Get out the way. I'm pretty sure that's ludicrous. Anyway, Cure the Lane. I laughed out loud, and I got seriously angry at the same time, because I wondered how they could have, and I once again stretched my brain into every different way, like chewing gum, that I could, to try to figure out in my head, just short of calling up the main office and going, hey, let me speak to the president. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And I've almost done that a couple times because of other Dangerous Toys reissues they have put out. But this show is particularly about the artist, so we won't go there with the other issues.
I came up with one more. How about Cure the Lame?
Yeah, well, that sounds like where they're going.
At least that's understandable. But
but they didn't change the M.
Yeah.
They just fucked up the S.
Yeah, that's strange. Sane.
Cure the Sane, which means we're all crazy anyway. So
yeah,
the people who think that they're not crazy, let's make sure they understand that, no, you're fucking crazy to not feel the way I feel, because you're hiding, is basically what that song's about.
Okay. All right, so let's get into the track by track.
Okay.
Here. So the first one is and I'll give you my thoughts about it, or what I want to say, and you can add to it, or whatever you want.
Sure, man.
So Share the Kill is first. This is one of maybe 5 songs I say are quite heavy for Dangerous Toys. Come out wherever you are. Some of us would make a fortune. Some of us would just go to prison. A place to end just for accessories. Entrepreneur, you'll be self-employed. Victim friends and family more than annoyed. Come out wherever we are. Share the kill. Very heavy.
Hey, those are good. Those are good lyrics.
That's not bad. It's better than
those are
Cure
good.
The Lane. Yeah, and it's
Who
share
wrote
the
those?
kill. It's
Who
not
wrote those lyrics?
it's not share the pill or share the anything. It's share the
N-
kill.
Share the
That's
kill.
good.
It's about being ferocious.
Yeah.
It's about, come on, let's go start some shit. Is basically what it
And
is.
what about, I wanted
It's
to
a
ask you too,
it's
there's
a
an
perfect opening track if I don't say so myself.
yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
It's it's not as fast
When
as like
when you press play, it's a killer opening track for a record. Yeah. And
share
that's a
the kill.
toggle switch on a Les Paul.
Yeah, I figured it was some kind of
Yeah,
toggle.
it's not.
Yeah. Um, and what about the and there's quite a few songs on this. I don't know if I noted all of them, but the effect on your voice, it sounds, I don't know what it is. It's probably something simple. It sounds like you're like Gibby Haynes, like you're singing through a megaphone or something.
Yeah, bullhorn. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a megaphone.
Filter or
It
something?
no. I don't really recall using any. Well, there might have been parts of songs that, I would sing the whole vocal just normal, right?
Hmm.
And then we would add in
Ah, okay.
an
It's done in
effective
post.
vocal and mix it in a couple of places, and that's usually how it's done. So you just don't have this what's called a wet vocal where it's just
Mhm.
recorded wet with effects, and that's all you got. You want a clean one so you can mix in and pull out the dry and put in the wet, wherever you want. But I don't remember using a technically bullhorn, but
No,
it was,
I didn't think it was actually a bullhorn, but
yeah.
that there
But
is a
I
vocal and it's
think
done,
I
as
think
I
I
said.
remember I think I remember recutting,
Mhm.
or adding an additional track of certain parts that were highly affected through like a telephone effect, where it sounds like an old telephone, where your
Yeah,
voice
like
is
a
kind of,
lo-fi.
you're really small, you're talking really small, like this,
Right.
and then you put some high end on it and you turn the gain up so it's distorted a little
And
bit.
whose call is that to put the effect on? Is that you? Is that the
Oh,
producer?
there were sort of not physical drawing boards, but there were ideas flowing left and right. Oh man, it would sound cool if we did this. Or, yeah, let's try it, because there were no fucking rules at all. So we just tried shit, man.
And I'm just looking at this now, and usually this is the kind of thing, as a music nerd, that I know. I feel like I've bought a couple of thousand records and CDs in my life, and I feel
Hmm.
like I could name the producer on about 80% of them.
Yeah,
And I just realized I don't know who produced this. I'm looking at it. There's no production credit.
yeah. That's another thing that I was angry about as well. Tom Fletcher produced that record.
Yeah, there's nothing. You've got the crew recorded and mixed at Austin Recording Studio,
Hmm.
mastered at executive producer, layout by, cover illustrations by, band photography. But yeah, no production credit. I don't know if I've ever seen a record that doesn't have
Well,
a
who
production.
was the executive producer?
Harry B. Friedman II.
Yeah, he's the owner of the label. He wasn't
Uh,
there. He just put up the money to
yeah,
buy the
yeah.
tape. That's it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Hmm.
So that's what an executive producer is.
Yeah,
So
they
that's
just put
that's
their name on.
correct. They
Yeah,
got
yeah.
that right, but it's
Okay.
just a dude, and that was for, like I mentioned, the label was DMZ Dose Records, which was a sister label of Antone's, a
Okay.
blues label here in Austin. Yeah.
So whose decision is that to put the effect on the vocals? Is that you? Is that
No,
the producer,
like I
Tom
said,
Fletcher?
it was like I said, when it goes into a certain part or has what I call a lift, it's like, oh, let's make this part have a different
Oh, okay.
tonality, or let's have this like be gritty and sound. It was just off the cuff. It was no plan going in.
Hmm. Okay.
We didn't storyboard anything out. It was once we arrived on that planet, it all of a sudden we realized, oh, that's badass. We should make it do this. Let's try this. Let's try that.
Okay. And the next song is, and whenever I do these episodes, I always mention, what I consider to be my favorite song, and
Real,
sometimes it's
real quick.
harder.
I'm sorry to
Mhm.
interrupt. Real
No, go
quick.
ahead.
Share the kill. Whose riff do you think that is?
Is it yours,
Nope.
Scott's?
Yep.
Is it?
That was on one of his riff tapes.
Mm. So is he one of these guys, like a lot of guys, they just have like riff tapes? They don't write it specifically for a
Every
song?
every guitar player or every writer, whether they're a singer that doesn't really play guitar on stage and they write their songs with a guitar,
Mm.
they have riff tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of ideas.
Yeah, whether it's on a little handheld digital recorder or on their laptop or on their iPhone, talking in the now times.
Yeah, I hear
Riff,
about
riff,
guys.
riff tape. Yeah,
Yeah, I hear about guys. I can't remember who I heard say this, but they sometimes they wake up in the middle of the night with a riff in their head, or
all the
they're on the
time.
and they sing it into their phone.
Yeah,
They and then when they
yeah,
get a chance, they actually play it.
yeah,
But they don't always have a guitar on hand, so they kind of
right.
hum the riff.
That's totally normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So as I said, sometimes it's hard to pick a favorite because you like them all. Sometimes it's hard to pick a favorite because you don't like any of them, like Peter Criss's 1978 record.
Understood.
Um, yeah, but they're
Tossing and turning.
stop. There are five on this record that I put asterisks beside that I could consider my favorite. I'm not sure which one is. The first one is the next one is Cure the Sane. For me, this is one of your best. And I don't know if it was you that wrote the vocal melody or not,
It
but
was.
the beginning of the
I wrote
I,
the song. I wrote the song.
okay. So the first line, I guess, of each, I guess it's a pre-chorus. Man, they sure are fast today,
Yeah, it's
making me
pre-chorus.
nervous. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And the next one is um spreading yourself way too thin. Does it hurt to see it all?
yeah,
And the last one is, and I really love, I don't know what it is, there's some of the way these words come out. Pass the bones and cigarettes,
yeah.
no dessert for me today. And I'm so sorry to sing your songs to you, but
No, that's all right. Yeah, I'm
that's
enjoying.
a such a
Hey,
great melody, and
hey,
the words just come out so great.
hey, Dan. I enjoy you so much because you know the lyrics to songs I forgot I wrote. You remind me of songs that I wrote.
I hope they're good memories.
They are good
And
memories.
now continuing on with the lyrics, this one, and there's another song I can't remember. I'll remember it when we get to it.
Yeah, that's fine.
The lyrics are kind of introspective, no, very different than
Mhm.
look at my cock lyrics, or
Right, right,
very different, a little bit introspective.
right.
Um,
It's not Sporting Woody,
no, it's far from that.
and
Yeah,
it's not even really Queen of the Nile, which are both epic in their own right. But I feel like Cure the Sane has an anthemic feel to it.
mhm.
It's just not an anthem when you, I think, hear it and think anthem. I don't think you do, but it is because it has the repetition and it has
It's
and
catchy.
it has a fist, a bang, and it has a go-go to it, right? Cure
Yeah,
the
it's kind of
Sane. Now
it,
we
to me,
are all to blame. Cure the Sane.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of uplifting musically and
Yes,
lyrically.
that's
It
what I'm
has
saying. That's
yeah,
anthemic. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Cure the Sane is excellent.
So
That's
so what I remember, if I may, um, throw in stuff as we go along, is the part where it goes cure the sane, where it
yeah,
has the call and answer thing. That was the
yeah.
Tom's idea. That was the producer's idea.
Oh, okay. Cure the Sane.
I just had, like, my original demo just had cure the sane. We are all to blame. Cure the sane.
Cure the
Da,
Sane.
da, 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 cure the sane.
Cure the
That
Sane.
the cure the sane, cure the sane. That echoed part, that was not on the demo. That's the producer's idea.
Yeah, see, and I think as fans, we always, say, "Oh, I love the production on this record," which I guess people are saying I love the way it sounds. But I think
Mhm.
people, and I'm not saying that I'm, unique in thinking this, but the producer is a lot more, depending on the band, I guess, a lot more he's responsible for a lot more things than just the sound. He can give
Right.
ideas, sing
Right.
this a little bit different, play this, slow it
Yeah.
down, speed it up, kind of like my metaphor is like and you probably don't know golf, but I'm a big golf fan. And
Okay.
caddies, there are some caddies that all they do is carry the clubs. That's it. But other caddies, they work as a team with the golfer. They give them suggestions and
Sure.
a mental, pats on the back,
Oh,
things
yeah,
like
all
that.
that. Yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So a good example of a producer, not just doing something
Well,
sonically.
on another side note, while we're talking about this, because it is important, is Tom Fletcher did Pissed as well. Now,
Mm,
Billy Sherwood, who plays bass in the prog rock band Yes,
mm,
um, was listed as the producer on Pissed, but the engineer was Tom Fletcher, who produced The Artist by himself, engineered and produced Artist. But when we recorded Pissed, Billy Fletcher was only there about a tenth of the time. I'm not dissing Billy Fletcher because we really needed to get to work with Tom.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like we needed to get our hands dirty and get some shit on tape, so to speak. And so Billy was there kind of when we were in mix mode and like the last couple of weeks that we did, maybe, because I think we were out there like maybe 30 days. And he was there. He started to show up more after the basic tracks were recorded. And he would show up after we were done and listen down and tweak a few things and talk about some things and basically go through stuff with me and Tom on vocals more than anything else.
Okay.
But Billy Sherwood is in his own right, ace musician. Ace. I mean, for God's sake, he played guitar and bass and yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild. But yeah, so that's important.
Okay. And the next one is The Numb. You said you played this live on this tour, right?
Yep.
This is a really heavy one. I would even say heavier than it's kind of slow and stompy and grindy.
Yeah.
And lyrically pretty dark. Frown down upon the days that I was someone's puppet. And then what the other line? To find a friend to free you from the clutch of your black halo. Pretty dark. You know, these could be Soundgarden lyrics.
Alice in Chains.
Yeah. Musically and lyrically, they go very well together.
Yeah,
Chocolate and peanut butter.
This one I can't remember if it was Paul's riff or Scott's riff. I just can't remember. But I don't think that it was my riff. I think that we all contributed to, once we put it together, you know, it was, especially if it was like a sewn together part of Scott's thing and part of Paul's thing, which I don't, again, to be clear, I don't remember if it was a Frankenstein of two different things. It could have all been Scott's or could have been all of Paul's. I just don't recall.
Okay.
But it's a heavy tune.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a good one. Next this is another one that I've got an asterisk beside because it's one that I could consider my favorite. We talked about it briefly earlier. It's not Take Me Swifties. It's not about Taylor Swift fans. It's Take Me Swiftly.
That's right.
And this is just this is, to me, it's kind of in the vein of oh well, so what? Who cares?
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't sound like it, but it's snotty. It's got a lot of attitude.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fuck you song. Lyrically and music, it's just kind of bratty. To me, this is the one that is most like what you would call, I can't say a song that you would have expected from Dangerous Toys on maybe the first couple of albums. Oh man, yeah, Take Me Swiftly is so great, and as I said, that's the one that I thought was a drum machine with the hi-hat at the beginning. It's kind of a bass groove to it, and it's very simple. Just why do I care? Just screaming it.
Yeah,
and then
this is one of my riffs.
Oh, okay.
And that's pretty much the whole groove right there. And the lyrics are pretty much coming from like, I'm not afraid to die. Just take me right now because I don't give a shit.
Don't let them steal your soul. Don't let them take your mind. Don't use rope. Don't use fire. Don't use bullets. Don't use sex.
Yeah. So it's your choice how to go. It's your choice. It's not a suicide note. It's not a suicide letter at all. It's your choice. You take your own path, but you know, as far as But you're right, it is a fuck you. Don't
Yeah,
make
why do I
don't
care? Why do
don't
I care?
why do I care what you think? I'm over stay in your lane, buddy. Kind of just kind of an attitude. But as far as the title goes and the attitude of the song pertaining to the title, Take Me Swiftly, which means hurry up and do it as
Mhm.
long as I'm ready to do it.
Mm.
I'm ready. When I'm ready, I'll make it go fast. Right.
And taking a little break from the track by track, a little
Yeah.
sidetrack
Yeah.
here. Speaking of your lyrics, are you the type that sings? I mean, that writes lyrics that are more linear, like kind of tell like have a theme, or somebody like Mike Patton. I'm a fucking massive Faith No More
That
fan.
guy's a genius.
But he just writes, and I guess there are other bands that write this too. I think Chris Cornell too, and Chris Cornell is one of my favorite lyricists ever.
His lyrics are
Um,
great too.
yeah,
Yeah.
but a lot of them, especially I think with Mike Patton, he said, I just write words that sound good when they go together. He said, don't read too much into them. When people
Correct.
say, what is it? In Epic, what is it? He said, I don't know. It's just you put words that sound good together. Are you more like that? Just what sounds good, or are your lyrics more
One
somewhat
thou
telling a story?
1000%. When we talked a little bit about like dummy words,
Hmm.
it's phonetics.
Hmm.
There's certain
Syllables.
there's certain vowel shapes that, in my opinion, again, don't sing very well. And what I mean by don't sing very well, like the shapes, ooh and e, don't sing very well. So I try to do a lot of eh and ah and
Mm.
oh. You know
Great
what I mean?
insight.
Like,
Yeah.
especially in verses, what I mean? I know we're talking about Take Me Swiftly. That's that E
Take me
sound, but it's
swiftly.
kind of turning into an where my jaws dropped, right? And it's not necessarily E where you're gritting your teeth and your air is trying to push through your teeth. So, what I'm saying may or may not hold water all the time, but I try really hard to stick to the theme of like open mouth shapes when I write lyrics, especially when I'm kind of scatting lyrics. The dummy lyric kind of idea, most of the time has a lot to do with what the lyrics end up being because I will like what my dummy words are doing. You know what I
Okay.
mean? The vowels that I'm using, in certain like melodies I will fall into or become attractive to me. I may second guess, but it's rare that I second guess and end up using, if I'm going hee haw and hey ah, if I'm just doing that, I'll find words that have those shapes in them and make the lyrics kind of make sense
Ah,
or
nice.
make sense enough with those vowel shapes, those mouth shapes, and ends up being really close to my original dummy, the feel of it. It'll just be words instead of hee haw and doo dah, right?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. That's something that I've never noticed. But I mean, it makes sense, and it also reminds me of something to go even further off track. There are two guys that I can think of. One is Jason Bieler, who does this. What I'm going to talk about in a second. Jason Bieler is one, and Chuck Billy, who I watched on your show
Hmm.
last week.
Hmm.
Something that they do, and I've never heard any fans talk about this. And again, I'm not saying that I'm unique in noticing this, but it's just, man, I talk about music a lot with all my friends and everybody for the last 40 years. And I've never talked about this with anybody is what those two guys do, Jason and Chuck Billy, especially with me, um, and with or words that start with the sound of I. They put a what sound in front of it. Like there's a song, Saigon Kick has a song called Flesh and Bone. And I think the opening line is, I don't know if I am wrong or right, but Jason sings as, why don't know if I am why instead of just I. And I guess it's because, like you said, like kind of phonetically or just the way that you sing it, it just doesn't sound right to start with I as a sound. So puts a wuss sound. So he says why. And Chuck Billy does that too.
Very interesting that because I think of the Kiss song I,
Mm.
and they put O in front of I. Oh, I
Oh, I.
believe. Oh, I.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Mm.
Now, I have a theory, whether it holds any water at all, that um, it can become part of, the lick or a hook or something to ramp the note up from a
Mm.
lower note
Mhm.
into the top note that you're going to sing on that word of that phrase, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you're going, I, you're like ramping, right? You're coming from 0 to 60, right? And so maybe the W sound is just part of that feeling,
Mm.
and the andor it helps them physically ramp up to the note that they want. I mean, I'm not
Mhm.
singing a note that would be considered. I'm not singing right now when I go. Wah, I'm just kind of, you know, sort of giving you an idea
Yeah.
of what would make it easier for them. Like if they were going to actually sing way up here in their range and starting down low, that W might set it up more dramatically and
Yeah.
help them engage their airflow to where they can hit the note and hold it a certain way to where it
Yeah, and
has
maybe they just need a little bit of space filled.
the tone you need.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think Kiss is going, "Oh, I believe in,"
Mhm.
same
Okay.
idea. It's the
Alright.
same. I think we're saying the same thing.
Okay. And the next song is, I Heard It All. This is another one with an asterisk, so another contender for a top one. What a beautiful song this is, kind of, I don't know if I'd call it a ballad, maybe ballad adjacent. Really nice acoustic guitar, gentle. It it, uh, it really paints a picture. Snow on the window seems to get you down. Come inside now, let's wait out the weather. Come inside now, let's wait out the weather. The snow on the window seems to slow you down.
Mhm.
So you hold to the feelings. Is the bitter man still there? Another kind of introspective, not lyrics that I would have expected on the first three Dangerous Toys albums. Um,
Mhm.
and again, kind of introspective, maybe I hate to say it, more mature. I hope
Here we go.
that's okay.
So, in my opinion, the entire record is a maturity of some
Mm.
sorts.
Maybe
There's
that's why
some
people didn't like it.
there's some thorns, there's some thorny places when you look at the whole record, but there are places in the record that are soft and introspective lyrically, at least. Well, no, that's not true. Like you said, whose riff do you think that is? Who do you think that is came in with that acoustic? Who do you think wrote that?
I don't know. Is that another Scott?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's fun on an acoustic. He rarely plays acoustic and wants to show that side of his guitar playing, but he comes up with some interesting formation of uh you know melodic transitions of chords. And I basically told him when he just was sitting down playing that. I don't know if it was even on a riff tape until I asked him to cut it, to come up to finish the tune, right? And I think he was just sitting down somewhere and was playing that main rhythm. And I
Mm,
was like, there's my verse right there. That's awesome. Now, where the lyrics were coming from, it sounds to me like um the hook being heard it all before. I've heard it all. I've heard it all. Don't play this
mm.
with me. I've heard it all before. But
Feels like it comes with experience.
the verses could point to uh, internal worry or depression.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like the snow on the window seems to slow you down. It's just
Yeah.
weather. It's going to go away tomorrow. There's
Mhm.
another day ahead of you. Don't give me all this shit. It's going to give me 5 minutes. The weather's going to change. You'll be fine. So for someone to be like, to be locked down somehow, and I know that the verses move around. It's not just about being snowed in or that feeling as such. Um, but either way, it's a positive and not a negative,
Mhm.
but it could be pointing towards the idea of someone or something that has slowed down in their progression.
Yeah, maybe somebody's, like, I don't know, feelings of being overwhelmed or something.
Totally.
Mm. Yeah, and to me, this is, I don't like it when, well, I don't like it. I mean, I don't care, but fans always say, "Oh, this song should have been big. This song should have been huge," and things like that. And I don't want to say that because I feel like that's a little bit of a cliche. But maybe it's a better way to say it that this song, had it been in 1987, 88, maybe I wouldn't have been surprised if it had been a hit song. Given the right circumstances, it's very
Well,
melodic, very catchy.
that's a huge compliment. I
Well,
mean, for
it's
anyone, for a music fan to say something about any song, that is a massive compliment that you feel that strong that, in a certain day and age, this song would have checked all the boxes.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
at this point in 1995, it had no chance of making
well, does
Dangerous
it
Toys a household
let
name.
me get into your head for a second. Does it sound dated? Are you saying that it sounds dated? Because I've even agreed with you that, you could be right.
No,
By
not
it
dated, but just like I said, or like we talked at the top, there was not really an audience for Dangerous Toys in 1995. So, not that it
y
was dated the way it sounded, but just,
okay.
you know, in terms of
Well
musical climate.
well well, it could have been if White Lion would have written that song in
Mm,
1989, it could have been something that worked for White Lion.
mm,
Dangerous Toys writing that even in '89, no one would have ever known that we had that, which the closest thing we would have had then would have been the Feels Like a Hammer,
yeah.
and Hurt It All is nothing like Feels Like a Hammer, in my opinion.
Um,
It's coming from the same guitar player brain, but it's
yeah.
not the same.
I mean, they both have acoustic guitar, but yeah, I don't,
Barely,
yeah,
barely.
yeah,
Feels Like a Hammer has an acoustic intro, if I recall, but that's
yeah.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's only the intro in the song.
Yeah.
There's no, I think there's acoustic throughout
Yeah, yeah, Scott did an entire track of acoustic all the way through, and then he where the heavy stuff comes in, it's heavy is a relative statement to the song because the song is heavy, but it's not heavy, if you
yeah,
know what I mean.
I understand.
It's heavy in every definition except for when you think about a song that is like heavy metal, because it's
Okay.
not.
All right.
Yeah. What would
Um,
you say if you had to pick like of the ilk of the 90s, of the early 90s maybe, what would you think that Hurt It All sounds like? Who at the time could have written a song like that and had it on radio?
well, I mean, it's not, yeah, it's not grunge, it's not alternative, it's not metal, it's just a good, it's not pop, it's just a melodic
I
rock song.
just want to point out that
Are you going somewhere with this?
we were the alternative.
I'm
We
gonna
were
use
the,
that word coming up
we
on,
were the alternative on that, especially on that song. We were the alternative.
there is a song on this record, which we're gonna get to, that I did
Yeah.
mention, that I made a note, that to me it sounds like what, and I hate, of all the musical, genres, the alternative is maybe the worst word. Um,
Yeah, because U2 and REM used to be called alternative,
yeah,
but that didn't last very long. So,
no. Um, yeah, when I was a teenage metalhead, alternative was just like the most horrible thing I could ever imagine.
well,
And
yeah,
then
it was a misplaced term that the same people that probably came up with the term
grunge.
grunge
Yeah, yeah.
that we're using in a different. It was probably a different guy that's kind of still the same guy. It's a journalist with a pen who's just
Mhm.
spitballing and trying to put things together to
Yeah.
sort of explain and maybe even help the band sell music. I get it. It's not, they're innocent. The journalist is fucking innocent. It's just an opinion.
Yeah, and
It's funny.
something stick.
It's funny how words can hurt people, but I don't think the journalist has that intention all the time.
Yeah, I mean, they just write and you never know what's gonna
Sure.
stick.
I don't
And that
know whether
people
the
try to
record made them
yeah.
mad and they didn't understand why people, or they tried to project that how could anyone like this crap, or whatever their opinion is. It's just an opinion.
Yeah.
It's hard for the reader to not take that as law or a commandment or biblically correct, because they'll go, yeah, fuck it, it sucks, and then they're cheating themselves out. That's why I don't use Rotten Tomatoes. Let me watch the movie and tell you if I liked it or not, please. Don't tell me I'm gonna hate it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So next is, and we talked about this briefly earlier, Transmission. This is one I never liked this song. It just wasn't for me. And I guess
Transmission.
Transmission. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I get a Pink Floyd vibe from it. I never
Yeah.
liked Pink Floyd.
Okay.
And yeah, this song just never did anything for me. But I will say lyrically, and this is obviously retrospectively because this came out before what I'm about to say. Lyrically, these sound like they could be Godzilla Motor Company lyrics.
In Transmission?
Yeah.
Well, Transmission is kind of an
Sci-fi?
ode to a love song.
Mm.
You don't
In
get it?
a particular song?
You don't get it? You don't know
No, I don't. I'm missing
yeah, if
something.
you read the lyric, I'm not asking you to do it this second, but
I can do it now while you're
read the
talking.
lyrics and think about see what you get out of it if you're gonna just kind of like
Yeah,
throw your head at it a little bit.
I guess because I just think of like when I hear Transmission, or when I mean hear the song title
You're
Transmission.
hearing you're only hearing the chorus.
Aliens come take me to your
Alien,
leader.
come take me. Well,
Right.
where are you going? Why do you want to leave? That's the message.
So
It has,
is this an ode? You said it's an ode to a love song. Are you talking about a particular song?
No, it could have been Elton John. It could have been an
Okay.
Elton John type of a lyric. It could have been some kind of broken-hearted song. Well, it's not a personal experience at all, but it's one of those sort of laid out like a lonesome cowboy, right? He's on the trail and he doesn't have anybody, and or it could be even be a breakup song.
Okay, yeah, I'm reading. Yeah, I just had in my head.
You had aliens in your head,
yeah. Looking at it now, yeah, because I said I never really get into it, so I kind
that's
of missed
cool.
out on
That's
lyrics.
cool. That's cool.
I'm waiting for an answer. Save me. Do you think you could spare a minute? Okay, I know you understand. Give me a sign. Hope I last as long as I'm supposed to. I'll just visit this place when I'm through. Now to the point of my transmission. Don't leave me here. Yeah, you're right. I think I was just going, but for the sci-fi thing, just because the words aliens.
Sure. And a lot of people, I had friends call it, yeah, man, I like the alien song, and I'm like, you're missing. Thank you, but you're missing the point.
That's me.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. You know what? And that just goes back to the old chestnut of, it's open to your interpretation. Whatever, if the aliens come take me to your leader is the hook, and that's what you walk away singing. If it's a hook to you, obviously it wasn't a hook to you because you didn't really like the tune. But the point is, whatever you can get good out of anything, and you walk away singing that, I win, right?
Yeah.
Whether you misconstrued the entire meaning or not. But it's fully okay, well, I'm obviously done here, so I'm ready to buy a ticket on a train and get the hell out. In this case, it was an alien spacecraft. Hey, when are you guys going to come invade? Can you please come abduct me because Earth sucks? That is the idea of Transmission.
Yeah, I maybe would have, and you know what? I don't really like sci-fi, either movies, books, anything. I was never a big sci-fi fan. Maybe that turned me off too. I just had the alien. If you had said, take me on your train or take me on your whatever, maybe I would have had a different perspective on the song.
Well, press pause for a second. I like you a lot, Mr. Delaney. I really like you as a dude a lot. But for you to not like sci-fi, that's fighting words.
I'm also not a big horror fan. I know it's such a big thing for metal fans to be into horror.
I'm not reaching for the delete button. I'm not hanging up on you.
Okay.
I think that you're the cat's meow, my friend, but horror and sci-fi are to my left and to my right. You see Planet of the Apes right behind me.
Planet of the Apes, the original one was okay, and I
Yeah,
would even say one of my favorite movies ever
that's
is
what all
Texas
this is.
Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre
See,
is
that's horror
incredible.
and sci-fi.
Yeah, but as a genre, they're not like,
Okay.
most metal fans, that's a
So you like some.
Oh, yeah, I for
Oh,
sure.
okay.
I mean,
All
there
right.
I've seen, a lot, Minority Report is
Well,
one of
that
my
makes me
favorite movies
happy.
ever.
I'm happy you backpedaled at least a little bit.
Not a backpedal, a clarification, let's
Thank
say.
you. Perfect.
Okay. All right, let's move on so this would now be side 2, and the opening song kicks you in the nuts, and it's Words on the Wall. Oh my
Yeah.
God. This, did you see what I wrote here in capital letters?
Yeah. Heavy.
It's fucking heavy. This is,
Yeah.
my God, I couldn't believe that that it was Dangerous Toys. And there
This
were signs that Dangerous Toys could be heavy. Again, I'll reference Bones in the Gutter.
yeah.
But man, Words on the Wall, often the black to the wondering where the bloodshed is a way of life.
Yeah.
What are the lyrics?
It bugged me in the end. If I'll get this off my chest immediate. It bugged me in the end when later on that and I think that Tom, the producer, Tom Fletcher, may have been cheerleading me on to do something. The sort of ad-libbed rant in the intro where I come on, motherfuckers, blah,
I didn't
I
like that.
I
I
I
didn't like
didn't
that.
like I didn't in the end, I ended up not liking that, and I wish it was just too late,
I forgot about that. Yeah, I
and
didn't like it. I thought
it was just one of those harebrained ideas, and it got left on, and I think the song would have been more attractive and even may have sprouted more sort of footprint without the "Hey, fuck you" on the intro kind of
it's
thing.
all right, oh you fucking motherfuckers. It's time to get
Didn't
out
need
there in the pit. Show me what you
d
got.
doesn't need to be there.
It's yeah, it doesn't really, and I had forgotten about that. Yeah, I never really liked that. I just thought it seemed inappropriate. I don't mean
Sure.
offensive inappropriate. It just seemed out of place. That's what I want to say. It felt like I thought, why is that in the song? Is
Didn't
it
need to be there. In thinking back, you learn from that shit, and not because, "Hey, man, come on, you're not Pantera, you're Dangerous Toy."
mm,
Not
mm.
not because of that, but obviously this song is coming from all of the heavies of the early '90s, and I was into, Propane, and I was into, Prong, and what COC was doing at that
I
point too,
I have a prong reference coming up.
and great, and of course, Metallica in '95 wasn't really. I'm always going to be a Metallica fan. I don't. They
Yeah,
could shit on a stick and I would love it, but in '95 I wasn't. They were kind of over there on the
same with me.
sidelines for just a
Yeah.
little bit, and there was plenty of heavy shit out there for me to like.
Helmet.
And and a lot of this stuff was coming sort of like bubbling up, and maybe Words on the Wall is the closest thing to. It's not a thrash song, but it's the closest thing to like a thrash, a
Thrashy.
gritty, angry, and I got to tell you, uh pumping up Mark Gary to play drums like that,
Mm.
to give him to do that little churny riff there with the ghost notes and shit and really push was really fun for Mark. I remember it being really fun for him. And I remember like being his cheerleader going, yeah, fuck it, in the studio, like totally just keeping him on top of his angry or sounding that way, right? When you put on that face and go, you know.
Yeah, and the I mean lyrically and also just man, you're really wailing on this song, dear. And I love the way you deliver the line, plastic families out in the shit, and you just kind of not it's not really spoken, but plastic families out in the shit, and then you just wail vacationing out on the crime. There's no way I can vacationing out on the crime. The
Yeah, those are
bastard knows.
good lines, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bastard knows the words
So
on the
do you
wall.
know where can you predict, because I'm not patting myself on the back again, but you like a lot of my songs.
Hmm.
can you tell what some kind of crystal ball prediction from probably more than just this tune on this Dangerous Toys record that would sort of have an arrow or a beeline to where I was going just a couple of years later?
Yeah, I remember very well. I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but when I first heard Blasphemer from the first Evil United record, I thought, holy shit, like I can't
Well,
believe
I love Blasphemer. I love that, but let's backpedal a little bit. You went too far.
Godzilla
So,
Motor Company.
yes.
Yes, well, yeah, I was going back.
So
Yeah,
the
now
lyrics, so if you just the lyrics of Words on the Wall that you just spit on
mhm,
me, just those words that you just those sound like Godzilla, exactly where I went
mhm.
mentally and physically with vocal tones and everything with GMC.
I think we're gonna have to do a Godzilla Motor Company episode.
Plastic Families out in that's all bur-
Burning,
Plastic Earth.
plastic Earth,
It's
burning,
or it's like
plastic Earth.
that.
Yeah.
Plastic Earth is like part 2 of Words on the Wall lyrically.
Mhm.
Could be. Whether I knew it, realized it or not, it's definitely concerning to me that I didn't put those being tied together somewhat.
I'm asleep again. What is that's Praying Mantis.
That's Praying Mantis, yeah.
I can't forgive. I could have lived at one with the war in the land of the praying mantis people. Dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun,
so
dun,
that's
dun,
some
dun, dun.
sci-fi shit right there.
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
Yeah,
lyrically it is. Yeah,
yeah.
we'll have to do a Godzilla Motor Company
Yeah,
episode
I
sometime.
just ordered more CDs of those because I'm close to selling out.
I only have the one you sent me 25 years ago maybe.
Well, during it was
98 demo, I
in
think,
in
97.
2021 we've put out the real thing.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah.
I downloaded that. I don't have it
Okay.
physically, but I downloaded
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
Words on the Wall.
Yeah, Words on the Wall. And lyrically, I think that's a kind of a I don't know, is it a social commentary or is it about like a dystopian society, something like that?
Yeah,
Just the world is going to
I
shit.
I always yeah, I think that where you're going, you can sometimes predict. It's not like, hey, watch the news because the news is all pretty much lies most of the time. It's fodder. It's just shit that they talk about. It's secondhand. News is secondhand, man. You're not standing there. You didn't see it.
Mhm.
You didn't feel it. You don't know what the war is actually like or about. You're just getting secondhand journalism. So, wow, I sounded angry when I said anyway. The
Going
idea
off
of
on a tirade.
so these lyrics are exactly that. I feel like if you
Mm.
can't tell what's going on, all you have is what you see and feel. So, yeah, sounds dystopian, doesn't it?
Is that the clutching fisted till the end? Is that or is that New Anger? Clutching fisted to the end doesn't make you more of a man. Yeah, that is Words on the Wall. Clutching fisted till the end
Yeah,
doesn't make you more of a man.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's another asterisk
It's
song.
another angry. It's angry, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Next is Better to Die.
Yeah.
This is a kind of an up and down song that this had. The intro is a little bit melodic, and is there acoustic guitar in the intro? Buried maybe a little bit.
No, I don't think so.
No, okay.
I think it's like a
Yeah,
clean,
it's clean sounding, and it's kind
clean
of
Stratocaster sound. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and it's kind of it's light and melodic. The intro and then the first verse is kind of you're kind of singing kind of quietly,
Yeah.
and then the pre-chorus, red dead, um, red dead, hard not to break, and then that's really angry and heavy, and then you go back to the melodic chorus. It's better to die on your feet than on your knees. Yeah, I like that song. It doesn't have an asterisk. It's not a contender for a favorite, but I like that song too.
Yeah, I think that it's got some dark. I like the
Mhm.
the little like sort of, I don't know if it's diminished, but that's a type of chord. But it's quirky, uh, odd minor key little staircase thing.
Mm,
I always like that turnaround in between the parts that did that. Um, and that kind of reminded me of, you could say Black Sabbath, but you could also say like Alice in Chains too.
mm.
But
And you, sorry to interrupt. Just as you
no, it's okay.
sang that part, and I've told you before, you're really good at singing music. These, I guess you can vocalize it. When you just sang that from "To Live Is to Die," is that what we're talking about? Sorry, "Better to Die," not "To Live Is
Better
to
to Die.
Die."
Yep.
"Better to Die." When you sang it, that made me think of Monster Man, but Monster Man was a little bit slower.
Right.
And we'll get to Monster Man. All right. So next is Down Inside, which is another, and it's not down the inside, it's just down inside, to clarify.
Yeah, Down
This,
Inside. I
yeah, this
wanted to
is,
say real quick, I
mhm,
wanted to say
sure.
Cure the Sane and Better to Die. I may have written those tunes one right after the other. Do
Mhm.
you hear that? Just as a fan
Mm,
listening, just trying to
no,
put it all together in your
no,
head.
I've never made that connection. No.
So the pitch and the feel is different, but the tempos are the same. You notice that? It's better to die on
On
your
your feet and
feet
on your
than on
knees.
your cure the same. They are all
Okay.
to blame. It's better to
It could be a
die
mashup.
on your
Somebody needs to do a
feet.
mashup.
I guess, Better to Die almost feels like that chorus is Bon Jovi or something. I mean, it's
Oh,
not Bon
no,
Jovi,
I
but
understand.
it's pop. It's a
Yeah,
little
it
bit,
is very
yeah.
fluffy, light.
Yeah, it's
Not,
got a,
that's
it's
true.
once again, it's anthemic, it's big,
Yeah.
and it's major.
Mhm.
And
And
Cure the
when you,
Stain has a minor turn in it. It has a major vocal hook, but the riff under it has this odd note in it on purpose that makes it kind of feel uncomfortable for a second.
mm. Yeah, these are kind of things that for me, just as a fan, not as a musician, I don't notice that kind
Yeah,
of
but
thing.
you have to admit I'm explaining them to you in a way that makes you
Yeah,
can
I can
understand.
only stand the I can only understand the explanation. That's not something I would pick up
And
on my
that's
own.
fine. To be
Yeah.
clear, I don't read music. I don't When I
Mhm.
say I write music, I don't write out
No, of
charts
course
with
not. No, no.
lines and dots and hieroglyphics and shit.
Mm.
I write by feel.
Yeah.
About as technical as I get, I go is what tempo is it? All right, turn the metronome on and let's stick to this tempo.
Mm.
I try not to let it be wonky because, I want it to have, let's be precise on which part needs to be what tempo, right? And if this part's kind of dragging and slowing down on purpose, well, what tempo are we falling to? And these songs are charted that way. And when I say chart, I mean memorized that way.
Okay.
Here's the slow part. Here's the fast part. It's simple. Keep it simple. I'm not Kurt Cobain, but same.
Mm.
Didn't play scales, didn't know anything about that, doesn't give a
Yeah.
shit. He wrote by feel and phonetics.
Yeah, not a
Yeah.
master musician, but maybe a
Doesn't
master
care. Didn't
songwriter.
care. Didn't want to be that. Wanted to
Yeah.
write things emotionally. Right.
Mhm. Yeah. All right, next is oh yeah, oh so now just oh yeah, we're going back to Down Inside. Yeah, that one's heavy. I like that one, but I kind of forgotten about that song when I listened to it. I remembered it musically, but I realized I don't know the lyrics to this song, which I normally do. Yeah, that one's okay.
Down
Down
inside.
Inside. Down Inside, yeah.
Whose riff do you think it is, Dan?
I'm gonna guess not Scott this time.
Not Scott.
Yeah.
That's a good guess.
Was Paul
It's
writing it
Paul.
this time?
Paul wrote
That
that
was
song.
Paul? Hmm.
Yeah.
It is different.
Yeah. He may have even, because I don't remember. He may have even helped with the lyrics or written the lyrics.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Which that's it's got to be very rare for a Dangerous Toys song to have lyrics other than yours, no?
No, who
Oh,
wrote
Mike, Mike, I know
who
Mike
wrote
Watson
Tease
wrote the
who
lyrics
wrote
to.
Tease and Please? And here's a pop quiz for you.
I know it. I know it. Something Tremblay.
Nope, you're close. Tim Tremblay.
Tremblay. I said
It's not
Tremblay because I'm
TRO,
from
it's
French Canada.
TRE.
No, but
Tremblay.
that's right. But
Tremblay.
in French Canada, we pronounce it as Tremblay.
Oh, interesting.
There's a famous
Well, it was
hockey player.
probably
His
when
name was Mario Tremblay.
when his
Tren.
ancestors landed here, probably in Newfoundland, I would imagine, up
I would
there.
guess, yeah, but Tremblay with
Yeah,
that
it was
spelling.
probably written down wrong. And so
Like Cecilia
spelled wrong because it was written or pronounced wrong elsewhere, because it just was written a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember, and it took me a second, but I do remember the name.
Yeah, Tim Tremblay, and he wrote one more lyric on the first record too.
Ooh, was it That Dog?
Outlaw.
Outlaw. I'm an outlaw. And I know Mike wrote the entire lyrics for 10 Boots, right?
What else?
That was all him?
What else? Yeah. What else?
Mike?
Yeah.
On the first record?
Hellacious.
Best of Friends.
That's right.
Wow.
What else?
On Hellacious?
Hit song. A single.
What was the single from that? Sticks
Give
and
Me No
Stones?
Lip.
Give me no lip. Give me no lip.
That's Mike Watson.
I think that's very Jason McMaster.
He wrote this. I give him credit all the time. He wrote, lyrics that ended up being, whether they were initially a plan to be, to be the, wow, oh my God, this is great. You never know until it's put together. But 10 Boots, Best of Friends, Give Me No Lip, those are fucking great.
This gives me the opportunity to bring up something to you, and I know we're getting off track, but again, that's okay. There's a line in Give Me No Lip. You tell me that you love me, but that's not a sin, but 50 times a day is kind of wearing me thin. And Junkyard had a song on 6s, 7s, and 9s.
Mm-hmm.
Was it on that one or the first one? I think it was on 6s, 7s, and 9s. It was. It was. You say you love me at least 50 times a day, but if you really love me, you just walk away. And I thought, because I know you guys are friends, and so I thought, they're both talking about hearing "I love you" 50 times a day. I was not a ripoff, but I just always noted the connection.
Nah, that's when you think about what it is that you're talking about, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek way, lover's argument, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the true factoid is that Give Me No Lip was written before we even started our first tour in '89. We had Give Me No Lip. Like we made a record. We came home and we're fucking around. We wrote Give Me No Lip in the interim there.
And
crazy,
I'm just
right?
thinking too, maybe speaking of, we talked earlier about how, phonetics and sounds and syllables and things like that. Maybe 50 is just a good number in songs, because immediately I'm thinking 50 ways to leave your lover.
It's huge.
Do you know this Tragically Hip, this band called Tragically Hip?
Yeah.
Great. The greatest Canadian band ever, and they have a song called 50 Mission Cap. So maybe 50 is a good musical number.
Right.
Maybe
there was a band around here called 50 Mission Crush.
Oh, okay.
Just because it sounded cool, and the word 50 is Anyway, what else?
Like California. California is a good. Nobody's singing about New Hampshire in a song. It's California. Always sounds cool in a song.
I've mentioned Tennessee. I don't recall.
You've got Tennessee in the
on top.
On top from the Tennessee Valley.
Yeah. I don't remember. I don't ever remember putting any California in there.
No, you guys didn't.
I may have said L.A. here and there, maybe Broken Teeth, Hollywood, but never California.
Yeah, in Colorado 5 from down under. No Sleep Till LAX, Los Angeles. No
Crash Landing Affair.
Crash Landing Affair. Pretty Woman Everywhere.
Yeah.
Crash Landing Affair.
Which I got that title from Metal.
From Dave Glessner.
That's right.
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, what else we got?
Next is New Anger, and this is the one that this always reminded me of Prong. It sounded like a Prong song.
Yeah.
It's fucking heavy. Um, that's maybe that's the last one that I have an asterisk of the 5. And I love your vocal delivery. You spit out the lyrics, chewing on the bones. I can't sing. Obviously, I can't sing, but chewing on the bones, the devil's advocate. Da-na-na, da-na-na, trial by fire, pushing you over. Da-na-na, da-na-na.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for
You
me
know
very,
where
very prompt.
thank you. You know, my vocal attack there, doesn't it remind you? It reminds me, I know where I'm getting it from, but
Mhm.
my vocal tone and attack there, and this was also brought to my attention when I was writing the Godzilla Motor Company stuff. Once again, this song also, I feel like, has a string that's attached
Mm.
to what happened later on with GMC. But think about my vocal tone, the lyrics you just quoted, and think about what I'm doing vocally, tone and everything. Who do you think I'm? Probably at the time I'm not. It's subconscious. I'm not sort of like emulating or bringing his ghost into it. But who do you hear?
I'm gonna guess. Well,
He's
just
still
because
alive. I say ghost. The singer is still alive. He's already been mentioned in this chat as well.
I was the only thing I was gonna say for me, a singer that kind of barks, and I think you kind of bark on this song. You're like I said, you're spitting them out, and I'm sure this is not who you're trying to
Okay, that's
prompt me to
fair.
say. I'm thinking of Paige Hamilton.
Gene Simmons.
Really? Wow. Hmm.
Think about that. Think about what devil's advocate.
I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, yeah. When
Now
Gene,
I'll never
when
forget it.
Gene, when Gene does his grit.
Mm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That sort of burpy,
Yeah.
barky
Bullfrog.
thing that he's doing. Yeah, Well, it's not. It's not the bullfrog thing. It's throaty sounding.
Mm.
Yeah,
Chewing on the bones, the devil's advocate.
yeah. That's
Steel
that.
pipe. Very
That's
violent song. Steel pipe,
well,
steel pipe. I'm
steel
gonna hit you till your
and
head is right.
take the
New
take the
anger.
take the lyrics away, but think about the vocal tone.
Yeah.
Steel pipe. That's Gene Simmons.
Steel pipe. Steel pipe.
I mean, a little bit. That's where I'm going with it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I
kind of
never
funny.
thought about that, and
No,
now I'll
because it's
probably
so angry, and it's not as rock and roll as something that Gene would be
no,
doing, right? So
no. Yeah, much heavier.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, new anger is a
yeah.
killer
Who
song.
who wrote the riff?
That's a heavy one.
Who wrote the riff?
Is that you?
Yeah.
I think I've been 5 for 5 when you've asked me about the riff
Hmm.
writers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's a heavy song.
it's a drop D. The E string on a 6-string guitar is dropped down to D, which makes it you can play an open chord with the top 2 strings, and that makes
Mm.
a low D sound. And that was really I mean, guys in Sabbath and Queen been doing it the whole fucking time, but it was made popular in the 90s. But also Queen of the Nile, that has a drop D, and that's 88, 89, right?
89.
And
Yeah,
also
88,
Money
89.
Talks by AC/DC has a drop D in it. A lot of people don't realize
Mm.
that when you detune stuff, the most popular, almost pop hard rock bands in the world have been doing drop D the whole fucking time.
Mm.
It's kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
I would never know that. I mean, I hear it all the time, and I
Yeah.
guess Soundgarden did it a lot, and the drop
Yeah,
tuners. And
yeah, and they're doing. I mean, some bands make up their own tuning and shit. So
I think Kim Thayil did that. I think he had his own
I believe
tunings.
it. Yeah,
They had such a weird sound. I fucking love Soundgarden, but they had such
yeah,
a I shouldn't say, but they had such a weird sound, and they had such a weird sound.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that was New Anger. Next is Monster Man. You know who this kind of I can't say it reminds me of, but it brings to mind, and I don't know if you'll think I'm crazy, Melvins.
Wow.
It's just
I,
slow, sludgy. It's like this. It's like stomping.
yeah. Well, that groove influenced the lyric
Okay. I
because
think
you
Iron
know,
Man was kind of like that too.
of
Ozzy said there was
of
like a
course, it's
a
Iron
big bloat.
Man, and You think about Godzilla, you know what I mean? It's this big plotting, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You know, footsteps, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a stomper. That's what I say. It's like it sounds like somebody stomping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I think Paul wrote the riff.
mhm.
Paul, that's a song that was from Paul's riff tape, if you will. And I remember putting that together in that little room downtown, South Austin. And it was easy to come up with a title,
Mm.
because as soon as I heard the riff, I'm like, damn, Paul, that's heavy. And you know what I mean? I start doing
Mm.
this and
Yeah, they go together, right?
I,
Lyrics and music, you
yeah,
know?
I start to get a vibe. Mm.
Yeah, and maybe we could do an episode about songs with man. We got Iron Man, you've got Illustrated Man, Monster Man,
Okay,
Simple Man.
who wrote Illustrated Man lyrics?
I'm gonna guess it wasn't you.
You would be correct.
That
So
was
that
from
only leaves,
Pissed. Was it Mike?
yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
I don't think on Pissed the lyrics and music weren't credited individually, were they?
No, it's you. We just make it a family.
Right. No, but
We just
on the first two, it said music by and then lyrics by, I think, because that's how I
we're
knew that Mike wrote Best of
by the
Friends.
time it's said and done, we're all contributing anyway, and
Yeah. Okay.
that's just a way that we've always done it with the toys. Now, when you break stuff down, percentages might show up differently, and as far as bean counting here and there, but rare because we went into this as a family, and we learned that from our old manager. It's
Mhm.
just easier to do things. Who cares who wrote what? Let's just play rock.
Tragically Hip again, going referencing the Tragically Hip. They had all songs in their whole career were written by Tragically Hip, and that was an agreement they made when they were first starting out playing
Yeah,
guitars. They said it's just easier, it prevents egos.
yeah,
Um, and then some other bands, they fight over that and they break up over that. Credits and
that's right.
publishing, I guess.
That's right. So you have to be comfortable within your own skin and your situation when there's a couple of main songwriters.
Hmm.
I think Metallica, Kirk Hammett wasn't credited for writing shit until the Load and Reload and Your Load and My Load
No,
record.
he was credited for
Saint
Creeping
Anger,
Death at least.
Saint Anger too, I think.
I don't remember Saint Anger. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
the album. I don't remember the
No,
credits.
I think that he got credited for writing some shit on Saint Anger. So
Mm, yeah. Okay. Next is I think we just got two more. Yeah. Now, so these were so we'll do the real version. So these last two are not on the actual record. Um, but yeah, the last two. This penultimate one is "To Live the Lie." This is another, and I never liked this one. I just thought it was too long for one. It's 6:52, and I thought Dangerous Toys songs, except for Sugar Leather
you,
and no Angel and You is long. That's a good one. I just
that was not our decision.
no. Did
No.
did somebody need to cut that down?
There was some A&R people from the label hanging around in the studio that day, and they were trying to come up with this, you know, Leonard Skinner, the
Make it
Outlaws had
epic.
this really long epic,
Mm,
Freebird Man, that kind of with a big guitar harmony dual thing happening in it, and Angel and You. Notice that in some places you might find Angel and You recorded live, and we're not doing we never ever one time did that version that's on the studio
it was
record.
kind of like a improv jam kind of thing.
We never do that.
Mm,
Angel and You was, a 4-minute song tops live ever.
but it gets extended in the middle section.
On the record,
Right.
live, it was never that long,
Just 4
ever.
minutes.
We just took out that guitar wank back and
Mm,
forth. That the extra 2 or 3 minutes we don't do it live.
unnecessary.
Yeah, we do, the intro, the verse, the chorus, the chorus, the breakdown, the solo, the breakdown verse, the pre-chorus and the chorus, and we're out. That big long guitar wank that is like the very first normally lengthy guitar solo that you find in a hard rock song,
Mhm.
when you listen to Angel and You, the first like guitar solo that you hear before it breaks down and goes into something else, where there's two guitars doing a bunch of stuff back and forth. That first bit is the only part we do. We go right
Okay.
to the breakdown after that part. So
Okay. Yeah, this one, to live the lie.
okay.
It's just a weird song, and this is the one that I mentioned earlier, alternative. This one, it sounded kind of like, and I know there's no defining alternative sound, but it sounded like a Nine Inch Nails ish alternative. Definitely doesn't
Ye
sound like a Dangerous Toy song.
No. No, well, some people would argue with you that Hurt It All doesn't sound like a Dangerous Toy song. To
Mm,
me, it does.
to me, it
But
does too.
some people would argue, like, "What is this?" And then whatever, Better to Die or whatever, they'd argue the same. Like, "Oh,
Yeah,
what is
you could
this?"
say New Anger and Words on the Wall don't,
Yeah,
because they're
so
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 heavy.
now
So
so back to Live the Lie, you're not wrong in the feeling that you're verbally explaining that it has the distorted vocal. It has
mhm.
this dooga 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 doo, it has that churning thing that lends itself to Ministry or old White Zombie or something. And it's not one that I'm proud of, but I have met people that really love the song.
There's always somebody that likes something. There are people that like Peter Criss's 1978 album,
Which has
to
gotten a
reference
lot
that
of
again.
which has gotten a lot of reference and fanfare in this from you, not
Yeah,
me.
that's
Yeah.
my gold standard of shit.
Wow.
Everything bad is compared with Peter Criss's
Wow.
1978
Wow.
album. I hate that album.
I had somebody send me a copy of that because I just wanted to have it
I think it
because
was a friend of mine,
I guess
wasn't it? Was it
I think
Kevin
you're
from
right.
Ohio?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
came
who it
from
was.
something that I posted, I think, on
Thank you, Kevin.
Facebook.
Yeah, I
And
was like,
and
"Oh, man, I want that. Oh, shit, what's your
I
address?"
always
I
wondered if
was
that,
like, "It's
because
here."
yeah, that was,
"Oh, yeah,
that's
it's right
funny.
behind me."
That was something that I posted and you
Yeah,
commented on it. You said that you don't, oh, because I posted a picture of it. I
yeah.
said, I can't believe I bought this piece of shit. And you said you didn't have it. And Kevin said, I'll
"Oh, I'll
send it to
send
you.
it to you." Yeah, he did.
Oh, I wondered if that ever happened. Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'll,
so you know what else I don't have is the other 3.
I got them all.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
need
did
them.
end up with all of them.
I think I have the Paul and the Ace, right? On
Mhm.
CD maybe,
Oh,
but I would love to have all those, just
I have all 4 of them, but I'm
it's
missing,
cool.
I have the Ace poster and the Paul poster, but I'm missing the Gene and Peter posters, I think.
Yeah, that happens when you buy them secondhand, so,
Yeah, some of them have them, some of them don't.
yeah.
And there was a song on here, and maybe it was To Live the Lie. I thought I had written it down. And I guess it was, I swear I'd written it down. There was one that had kind of a thrashy, I swear I wrote it down. But I missed talking about it if I did. I remember writing the word thrashy. Maybe it was To Live the Lie. But yeah, that one never got into it. And then the last song is, now I feel like this is another, and I just don't like this song, Mom and Dad. But I have a feeling for you, is that like a real, like, am I insulting you if I say I don't like that song? Is that like such a
No,
personal song
no,
to you?
not at all.
Okay.
To be clear, Mom and Dad was uh, a second thought.
Mm,
We put it on there because, Tom, the producer, liked it,
mm,
but it's a short song, and it's
yeah.
like a blues with
Very
slide
bluesy.
guitar, and there's not really I don't even know if there's drums on it.
No, I
And
think there's not, and it has that scratchy record
yeah, I
sound.
added that.
Okay. Like a
I had like a
lo-fi.
4 track and I actually recorded noise to put in to mix into the background.
Mm,
Like a scratchy record sound. I think I even recorded like, scratchy record sound and then just I did it a whole bunch and we sampled it and made it be part of the noise underneath cuz I wanted it to sound like Robert Johnson sitting on the front
mhm.
porch,
Old
recording
blues song.
on a lo-fi mono recording with the shittiest microphone in town kind of a vibe. Because that was the vibe of the song, and I think I wrote the song on the cuff one day, and I told Paul, "Hey, play this thing, and I need some slide, and just make it shitty." make it
Yeah,
raw. And I think it's one take on the vocal.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. It's
one
a,
take. So we didn't record it in the studio. We recorded that I think at my house on a
mm,
4-track, and it was just a raw sort of fun thing that I was like feeling, you know. Hey, I got this funny little lyric that I keep walking around. Mom and Dad don't send me checks anymore.
mhm. My sister's a whore or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't buy, I don't buy drugs anymore.
just coming up with all this bummer shit,
Yeah.
one after the other. And it was a demo, and I was telling Tom it could have been Tom's idea, I don't recall, about how we should just put the demo version on there because we're gonna record it with all this nice gear and then try to make it sound
Make it
fucked
sound
up.
shitty. Yeah.
So let's just put the fucked up one on there as is. So
Yeah. To me, it just seems unnecessary.
it is. I will
And
admit.
yeah, and I
It
mean,
was
this is
kind of
a,
I'm sorry to interrupt. It was kind of a funny, kind of a hey, it was cheeky, right?
yeah.
It was let's just put this on there for fun.
Yeah, and this was the age of CDs where, and this is a pretty long album. It's 13 songs or 13 tracks, 13 songs, and I think it's right around an hour, maybe even 61, 62, maybe 50. Let's say an hour. Um,
Really?
but I think so. Let me check the running. It's got to be an hour. No, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's 61 or 62 minutes.
Oh, I can't. That's just
I
fucking
could. I mean, I
crazy.
might be off by 10 minutes. Let me check. I'll guess 58. Let me take a
That's
look.
still long.
Yeah. 55:26.
Wow,
That's
that's
long.
crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Um,
a vinyl album normally has, like, up to 44
45.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tops. So that would make sense because Live a Lie's too long, and then
Yeah, it's 6:52,
Mom and Dad's just a minute
two
long
and a
or
half.
whatever.
Yeah, so they lopped off right around 10 minutes. So
Yeah,
the
that
record
makes
is, yeah,
sense.
so the record is 45. Yeah. Um, and I feel like I talk about this in every episode of these videos that I do. Filler, and it kind of bugs me. And everybody says, "Oh, that song is filler," which I think is bullshit because I heard somebody say "Enter Sandman" is filler. And I think filler has become associated with I don't like the song personally, which is stupid. Like to
Right.
me, and also filler obviously has a negative connotation. All killer, no filler, right? To me, filler is literally I guess in the old days, and I don't need to give you a lesson, but oh, your record is too short. You need to fill it. So, you write another 3-minute song or something. And to me, filler, there's good filler too. Like I think God Bless the Children of the Beast on Shout the Devil. That's an example of great filler. To me, filler is like
Well,
instrumentals, covers,
okay, fair.
interludes,
That's fair.
introductions,
Filler is
weird.
the same thing as, and this is up for argument too, but
Mm,
filler is the same thing as deep cut in some cases.
mm,
We talked about deep cut.
yeah. No, I don't see it that way.
Here's
Like,
another way. That's
mhm,
fine. Another term is fan favorite. So a fan
yeah,
favorite could be a deep cut because you're not talking, hey, we have to play it. It's a hit. You hear those
mhm,
conversations. That's not always the case. Fan
yeah, but
favorite is not the hit. That's something that's a deep cut, or there's filler, as some call it, that wasn't even meant to be in the same room, but it was just added later to fill out the record
yeah,
or a bonus track or whatever.
yeah,
And
these
it
hidden,
turns out being someone's favorite fucking song.
yeah, to me, yeah, fillers like, little codas or hidden things or little instrumentals or interludes or something like that. And which
Okay.
which can be good too. Like I would even make the argument that Eruption is filler. I mean, it's a guitar solo. It's not an actual structured song. Um,
I've heard Paul Stanley call Beth originally was like a throwaway. Like it wasn't even
he's
on
talked
their
about that for
radar.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's their only number one hit.
Maybe the best example of filler in the literal sense is Paranoid. They didn't have
Yeah.
enough songs for the record, so they wrote
Yeah.
Paranoid in the studio at the last minute, and it's,
S-
one of the most
ic-
beloved metal
Iconic.
songs there is. It's
It sold the
iconic.
record. It was the
Yeah,
single. It was
yeah,
everything. If they wouldn't
mhm.
have come up with that filler, record wouldn't have done what it did immediate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have a question for you. I know we're finishing up here. We've been on the horn for 2 hours and 20 minutes now,
We both
which
have the gift of gab.
is crazy. Yes, we do. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
So on that vinyl reissue, Deadline Cleopatra, that you've held up, and it looks beautiful. Again, they did a great job on this reissue.
I can take it out.
People should go buy it. The band does make a little bit on it, not a lot, but we do make a little bit on it. Are there any songs on there that don't belong?
You're asking like in terms of like.
I'm saying, is the back? Is there any bonus tracks or anything on
No,
it?
no.
Okay.
There's five on side A.
Have you seen the CD version of The Artist Formerly Known As?
I have the CD version, of course.
Do you have it close by?
Relatively. Well, tell me, what were you going to say?
Well, isn't there a bunch of bonus track on it?
No, the one I have, no. The one that I had ended with Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that they have a reissue. Do you have the original version?
I bought that probably the day it came out, or
like in recent, or the original.
No, when it came out in 1995, I bought it then, the CD.
Oh, right. You have an OG. You have an original one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I shouldn't say anything, but I swear that I saw the reissue of this Deadline Cleopatra of The Artist Formerly Known As, and they've added bonus material.
Do tell.
Well, the bonus
are there Dangerous Toys songs I've never heard? Are they like live?
This is
live
good.
cuts?
So the bonus material on this Dangerous Toys record is not Dangerous Toys at all. First, how dare they? And the truth, how dare they? I'll just say that. But
okay.
But I have to, and anyone who comes up and like has me sign a copy or that, and it's the CD. It's not obviously not the vinyl because there's no more room.
No, of course.
They added, you could probably look it up. They added cover songs that I was commissioned to sing upon for all these tribute albums that
Cleopatra
they do.
Did a shit ton of those.
Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Leonard Skinner, whatever. And so I'm singing on them, and those MFers at the label decided, we'll just throw these on for bonus material on the CD.
And say it's Dangerous Toys when it's you and a bunch
it's not
of different
Dangerous
musicians.
Toys. So every time someone comes up, it's like
Tracy Guns
Guys
on guitar.
and Tracy, exactly. Right. It's all even the dudes that we all know and love. Just same thing. They hey, here's $100 and a 6-pack. Go play this Def Leppard song or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so they're paid a little bit to go and have fun in the studio and record these. They send me the track. I cut a vocal. Yay, that was fun. And you get some gas money, and that's great. This is biting me in the ass because they're saying it's Dangerous Toys. It's not. It's me singing with just a bunch of other dudes in the studio. And they're calling it Dangerous Toys, putting it on a Dangerous Toys album. And this is what makes me angry at night.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I have it here on Discogs, and on Discogs it's just listed as it ends with Mom and Dad.
Yeah, because they have the original issue.
Yeah, but Discogs I guess has everything.
Let me see what version it is, and I bet it's on like Amazon. You need to go look like where you were gonna pretend to buy it.
Okay. Okay. Is it even available to buy like on Amazon?
Oh fuck yeah!
Really?
Oh fuck yeah!
You should be selling your 2,000 copies on eBay.
Yeah, you can buy them for a penny on eBay.
Yeah.
Cutouts. People have a box of them, and they're I'll give you. If you buy this, I'll give you one of these for free, and it's an artist formerly known as. Yeah.
Let me see.
So I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking at. You're talking about the CD, Dangerous Toys. Okay, here it is. I see it on Amazon. Well, it's not available on Amazon. It's listed, but it's not.
Well, here's one, only 12 left in stock.
Yeah, that's on Amazon?
Yeah.
Huh.
Reissued. Where's the titles? Okay, here we go. Here, I'm going to read you the track listing because if I hold it up to it, you're not going to be able to read it.
Yeah.
Share the Kill, Cure the Same, The Numb, Take Me Swiftly, Heard It All, Transmission, Words on the Wall, Better to Die, Down Inside, New Anger, Monster Man, To Live the Lie, Mom and Dad. Okay, those are all Dangerous Toys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but track 14 is Let It Go.
Def Leppard cover?
Track 15 is Simple Man. Track 16 is Tush.
Yeah.
Track 17 is Kickstart My Heart. Track 18 is Welcome to the Jungle.
Ooh.
Now, to be clear, those last
four
tunes, no, 5.
Oh, is there 5?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let It Go, Simple Man, Tush, Kickstart, and Welcome to the Jungle are not fucking Dangerous Toys.
No.
What were they thinking?
Yeah,
this is just rude, and it goes back to the liner notes are missing. They fucked up so many the titles. They added songs that are that are cover songs that it's not even the band playing. Yeah. I don't understand how they feel like they can wield a power such.
Yeah, and I guess there's nothing you can do, right? You can, I guess, send them a strongly worded letter.
I can say, fuck you. I can say, I don't condone this, but
it's their right to do it, right? It's their material. They own the rights to it.
Yeah.
It's shitty. Yeah. I guess it's ethically wrong, morally wrong.
So while we're on the topic of throwing bags of shit around, the Greatest Hits album, the reissued Vitamins and Crash Helmets.
Oh, that album cover sucks.
Yeah, it's not the Dangerous Toys art that we all know and love at all. It's just their art department. It's also like the other one, the Greatest Hits one. It's not Vitamins and Crash Helmets. There's 2 of them, and it's got a clown kind of dancing. It's not that's not our clown either.
Yes.
And that has stuff from Artist.
Vinyl, I think,
that has stuff from Pist, Artist, and it has the stuff that's from Hellacious Acres and the debut are live versions of those songs.
From Vitamins and Crash Helmets.
Right. So they own the rights to the studio tracks from Pist and Artist, but not the Columbia, not the Sony record. So those versions are live, and they took those from the Greatest Hits live Vitamins and Crash Helmets tour original release. They put the front cover on the inside, and their art department put some shitty crap on the front. Now, if you go inside or on the back or whatever, and you see the track listing, they had tons of material because there's a shit ton of songs on that CD because it never came out on vinyl. So they may have had to cut some. They cut some off, I believe, to fit on the vinyl version. But let's talk about the CD version as well as the vinyl version. Fuck it. Because what happened is they just cut out the liner notes that we spent a shit ton of time on putting together.
Yeah, it's a slap in the face.
Right. So, in other words, if there's 20 fucking songs on a record and it's a retrospective of the band's career with lineup changes, and there's only 5 names mentioned on the back of the record, well, they're missing like 3-4 names on people who played on a shit ton of that. Danny Aaron's name is not on there. Tim Tremblay's name is not, because on that record, there's like old as fuck live versions. The song Dangerous Toys is on there.
Oh, I've never heard that song.
That's before it turned into Demon Bell.
Ah, okay.
The riffs from the song Dangerous Toys turned into Demon Bell. So, but no one's going to know that because the liner notes are just fucking in the ether. They're just fucking gone because the label got lazy. And they didn't put who played on what.
This is Deadline Cleopatra again?
Correct.
Still? Okay.
Now, it sounds like I want to burn down the house, and I don't, because they did a great job on these reissues. They really did. Even though I don't like a couple of the pieces that they put out, because it's lying to you, lack of information, or terrible artwork.
Mm.
But I think that the artist and pissed versions that they put out are pretty good. Like the green pissed
Mm.
and the pink artist of the vinyl, I think that they look really good.
Mhm.
It's mainly probably the CD versions and the vinyl, and vinyl versions of what they're calling a greatest hits.
Mm.
That's
And what
about it.
about, I gotta ask, I'm sure people ask you this every time you leave your house, and I also know it's out of your hands. What about, reissues, vinyl reissues of the first 2? And that
Well,
who's who that's that I know
that's
those are
those
on
are Sony.
Columbia.
Those are
Sony,
Sony
yeah.
Columbia. Originally, the first, the record deal that we signed was with CBS Records,
Mm.
and they owned Epic Records and Columbia Records. Well, CBS merged right after all that with Sony. So Sony became this umbrella that,
Yeah, it's a big
yeah,
conglomerate.
took over all that. Um, so now it's just Sony, but they still own the rights. They never did anything in the later years with any kind of reissues with Hellacious Acres, but the debut record sold enough to where they deem necessary that they
Mm.
have to keep in print, and you can buy it for like $9 right now.
On
So
CD.
correct, not
Yeah.
anywhere else. And
Yeah.
they're not paying attention. They got their eyes are pointing the other way on any back catalog. But the funny thing is there's all this money sitting there waiting to be spent on reissues of back catalog that would sell because they're not thinking like this. The realization of the vinyl resurgence and just retro is fucking in, and all of the stream, if they looked at their streaming numbers for the Dangerous Toys first 2 records, shit, the third record too, they would probably wake up a little bit and go, wow, we should reissue both of these first 2 records are doing well digitally. We should do something.
You
Wow,
think
that dog's a hit. I don't
yeah,
know what they
for
would
whatever
say.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So,
think somebody would be on that. They're always, I guess,
well,
always looking for ways
it's
to make
time
money.
basically it's time to renegotiate our
Mm.
contracts for the masters
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people would love to have
on
those first.
vinyl. They would buy
Yeah.
it on vinyl whether they had a
Mhm.
record player or not. They would fucking
Mhm.
buy it. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And while we're on the topic, I have to ask, I would be remiss, I think is the word. I would be remiss if I didn't
Meh,
ask.
sounds good.
New music. Now you've been playing Hangman Boogie for a couple of years now.
Yep.
You've got how many songs have you got in your pocket that are maybe not recorded but written like complete songs? Well, what have you got and what's going to happen with them?
We have about 5 recorded.
There's an EP.
Oh, easily. So you'll have to ask Scott Dalhoover this question.
Mm.
But Hold Your Horses and Hangman Boogie are in the set. We're playing them this weekend at the Whiskey.
Which ones? Oh yeah, oh you've been playing those series, yeah. Hangman Boogie and Hold Your
Hold Your
Horses.
Horses, yeah.
That was another thing for anybody who's still watching. I don't know when people gave up. So you got some shows coming up. I think by the time I put this up, you would have played the show at the Whiskey.
That's
But you've
fine.
got Gatlinburg,
The Mountain. Yeah.
Monsters on the Mountain, or something.
Well, it used to be called Monsters of the Mountain, and people still like to call it that because it sounds cool, but
Mm.
it's just called The Mountain now.
Oh, okay.
But it's
Been
the same
rebranded.
people that put on the cruise, Monsters of Rock. Yeah.
And that's Chris
August.
McFerrin is going to be there. I was talking to Chris today.
That's in August. Yeah, he's
Excellent.
playing the day after I am.
Yeah, and is Joan Jett there?
Yeah. Foghat.
Soto, Jeff Scott Soto and Jason Bieler.
Yeah, they're playing Friday
Tesla.
and Saturday.
Okay. Tesla.
Yeah, I think so. Tora,
All
Joan
those
Jett,
bands.
Foghat.
Yeah, Foghat.
Yeah.
That's a thumb that sticks
I
out.
don't
No
know if there's
Foghat.
any I don't know if there's any well, there's a bunch of bands kind of like that playing the mountain. I don't know what's going on with maybe they're just getting they're breaking out all the dinosaurs, not just the ones from '89.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Foghat. That goes back Oof.
Oh, I love Foghat. One of my favorite live albums is Foghat Live. It's so good. It's like a greatest hits.
I know Slow Ride, and that's it. Well, what else does Foghat have?
Fool for the City. You don't know
Sorry.
that? Fool for the City? You don't know Fool for the City? That's all right.
I mean,
They
maybe
had
I would have
another
to hear it.
Honey Hush. Driving Wheel. That's
Oh
such a
my God.
badass song, man.
Man, I'm
Driving
really
Wheel.
Foghat ignorant.
That's okay.
Uriah
That's all
Heep
right.
too. My friend Kevin Montavon, who gave you the Peter
Yeah.
Criss album. I was talking to him a couple of months ago about Uriah Heep because he saw them with Saxon.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I said, I can't think of one Uriah Heep song. I mean, I know I've heard them, but
Yeah.
I can't. And it's not. I'm not. That's not like saying they suck. I don't care about them. I know they were just never on my radar, and they
They're
weren't. I guess on the radio, they weren't in my realm.
yeah,
Uriah Heep.
they're great and influential, and they're
Yeah.
pretty much classic rock gods,
Hmm.
like a
I
Deep
know their
Purple,
reputation. Yeah.
like a Deep Purple. Yeah, by reputation, they're like proto metal, so to
Hmm.
speak, proto new wave of British heavy metal, you could say.
Hmm.
But like a Deep Purple, heavy keys.
Hmm. And
Mick
you know who?
Box, the guitar player, is a
And you know who
serious
I
guitar
who
player.
I
Yeah.
fucking love, and I only knew a couple of their songs like when I was a teenager, and I've kind of discovered them maybe in the last 10, maybe less than 10 years, and I really, really like them a lot. I've never heard you talk about them, but I have a feeling you're a huge fan. I fucking love Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. There's a lot of songs. I had some little 45 singles when I was a kid. So they've always been on my radar. I don't own a bunch of their records, but serious songwriters and players.
yeah, I think,
Three-piece band just like pummeling you with like boogie rock. It's
yeah,
fucking great, man.
I guess as a dumb, ignorant teenager, I knew we're an American band and
Yeah.
um, some kind of wonderful.
Yeah,
Didn't
love
really
those. I
like them.
love those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
thought
get
they were
it.
okay.
I
I
get
thought,
it.
classic rock. But
Yeah.
I think honestly, and this is stupid and ignorant, but being a teenage metalhead, that they had the word funk in the band name just put me off. I
Not
didn't
your
actually
fault.
think they were a funk band, but I guess it's just I just didn't like the band name. That turned me off.
It's not your fault.
Ignorant.
Yeah, it's not your fault. You're attracted to certain things, kind of like people think that the Grateful Dead is a metal band.
Well, they got the skull imagery.
It's not your
Um,
fault.
yeah,
If you bought the record because you liked the skull and then you
you'd
went
be very
home and
disappointed.
said, these guys are a bunch of hippies and threw the record in the garbage or gave it to your sister or what, took it
Mhm.
back because it wasn't heavy enough for you, it's not your fault. That's the cool thing about back then is you bought records off of a feeling that you got from the art and what you
Album
knew
covers.
and what you had heard and by reputation alone.
Yeah,
And then you could make a decision on your own. Wow, this is not what I expected, but I really love this or I really hate this.
yeah.
Depending on where you are in your life and in your head, right?
There were many that I loved. I'll give you two examples of two horribly disappointing records that I bought based on one was based on album cover and song titles. The other was kind of the same. One was Grim Reaper, See You in Hell. I remember seeing that, the record, the horse rearing up and the
The
guy and the
Reaper.
sun. Yeah, the Reaper. And I bought it. I thought, this sucks. I didn't like it at all.
Wow.
And another
That's
one,
hard. I know a
yeah,
lot of friends that fell in love with that.
I know, I know. I have friends who did. And another one, now this is an obscure band. I don't know if I might stump you here. Um, the album cover, God, what was it? It was The World with, well, I won't tell you the name of the band, but one of the song titles was Posers Will Die or Posers Must Die. I think Posers Will Die. The
Manowar?
No, no, oh fuck no, I would never buy a Manowar record. Um,
Wow.
the album was called Fist Held High. And if you're
Oh,
14 years old,
Thrust.
Thrust. The worst. I'd put that up with down with Peter Criss's 1978 album.
Wow.
I bought
Okay.
that because they had a song called "Posers Will Die"
Okay.
and the album cover and whatever their other song titles
With
have
your fist
held
held
high.
high.
Yeah, and I didn't like that high pitched singer. Tonight's the night the posers will die. Oh, that album
Wow.
sucked.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
I own that record.
I did too at one point.
Yeah. Maybe I bought
I don't
yours in
miss
the
it.
cutout bin.
Yeah, it could have been,
Yeah,
but I don't know whatever happened to them. But yeah, never
I
liked
get it. That's cool.
thrust.
That's
But
cool.
good imagery.
There's a lot of really bad that I really like because it's really bad. Like if I could buy just anything Metal Blade ever put out, I would, for
Mm.
nostalgic,
Hmm.
for just because they kind of have this biblical global footprint of the love for heavy metal just in
Hmm.
their words and their attitude. And I really just love Brian Slagle's whole, just demeanor about what it is to be a metalhead, and a simpleton in that way as well, right? And the mistake, he's honest about the mistakes he made. Being he's not a record label executive, he's a rock fan.
Hmm. Yeah.
He's a fan, so he's innocent on all charges, and guilty on all charges too, for the shit that he released that some people fell in love with because it was so bad. I mean, bad album cover art, badly sounding records, terrible lyrics. But I think that, the worse the artwork and as like low budget sounding the records ended up
Hmm.
being, and just how bad the band kind of was, but still had this lovable presence because of what it stood for. This is the romantic Jason coming out. um that movement is what I'm in love with.
Mm.
It's not about this record sucks, this record's great. And it is, but it's not. But I'm telling you, there's something about and there's a bunch of European labels that I would say the same thing about. If I could just comfortably, if I had disposable income, anything that Mausoleum Records put out, I would buy. Anything that Torrid Records put out, I would buy. Anything Metal Blade, I want. Terrible cover, terrible sounding, I'll take it. Just because of the footprint it has, what it stands for, I guess. Mic
Yeah,
drop.
yeah, and there are some debut albums that, in retrospect, they fit in that category. And
Yeah.
then, and I'll give you a couple of examples. The first two to come to my head, the first Anthrax record, which I bought that when it was I don't know if it was brand new, but I bought it when it was their only album, and I was a big
Yeah.
fan. I mean, looking back on it now, the album cover is shit.
Yeah.
Um, it's not it doesn't really represent what Anthrax became. Even the first Slayer album, Show No Mercy, which I still love,
Well, me
but I
too.
mean, it's goofy when you think of it now. It's kind of
Yeah.
goofy.
The first
And
Fates Warning,
well,
pretty
you're
pretty
kind of on the right
terrible,
track.
pretty
Yeah,
terrible
that's another one.
artwork.
I was going
Yeah.
to say March of the Saint, the first Armored Saint record is kind of like that too. It's in that Manowar fantasy realm, the cover and musically. That album does not sound very good at all. The March of the Saint, good songs.
It's one of my favorite records of all time.
Yeah, I know you're a huge fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got to let you go. This
I
was
was going to say, let's wrap it up. Yeah, we've gotten so far off
super
from
fun.
Dangerous Toys.
Super
That was
fun. I
fantastic.
appreciate. Yeah.
Thank you for your time, Jason. As always, we'll
Of
have to
course.
do this again. And for anybody who watched it, thank you. I'm sure a lot of people scrolled along and missed out on some very, very valuable information. And you probably missed some Peter Criss references. Try to go back and find them all. And if you write them all down at the time stamps, please do that. So
Yeah,
thank
good.
you to Jason for his time. And
I
for
want to
anybody,
point out that there were 0 piss breaks in this episode.
notice that I also didn't drink anything.
Oh, I did. I had a cup of coffee. It's the only reason I'm still here.
Yeah, I can go a long time without eating,
Yeah.
drinking, sleeping, or pissing.
Oh, that's dangerous, but hey, if
I'm a
you can
camel.
do it, it's impressive as well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jason. Thank
You're welcome.
you for anybody who watched this. And
Yeah.
we'll do it again sometime soon.
Sounds good.
Okay. See you, Jason.
I'm out.
Okay. Me too.
Later.
Bye.
Later. How do I get out?
There we go. I'm going to end it right now.
Thank you.